If you're not able to attend. Well, are you applying for it? Yeah, so you're applying it. So then that's okay.
How have you been, man?
No, I was talking about the contractor law right here. Right.
Oh, yeah, that was another one. So I read the week before. Now I'm.
I don't, in the, I mean, just like this. I don't think that's true. If we don't. I think we wanted to bring up business cards and pay for it themselves, and they use the Marina logo.
I don't think so in other cities. I'd have to check because it's in other cities, commissioners have business cards, but I don't think here.
But I'm talking about, that's when you go to, like, when you go down. It'd be nice.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have to,
I mean, all I was told was we don't provide.
yeah,
The city of Actonville, we could do it, and all when it's spent.
yeah. I don't think that's the policy here. I mean, that's, I came from Los Altos and commissioners had cards there. Just depends on the city. So, actually, the city attorney is working on a policy about use of the city logo. Because some nonprofits stuck our logo on some stuff that we didn't really want. Anyway, so that's why you're making me remember. So,
Doesn't take 2 hours.
But you want to talk with everybody? I talked to you. Oh, okay.
Okay, you were looking at 500 to start up your month. Now, hopefully it's because they're about something.
I'm typically during the food response.
whenever you guys want to start, we're ready. Oh, but you know what? Hold on. That other TV's not on. Hold on. One second. Brett, is it the TV or? What? But it's not projecting the,
All right, that's kind of funny.
hold on, I'm trying to,
No, I can like shape this and I can hear it.
no signal.
It's through WhatsApp. You can see that. You just so you know, I think I want to-
Why is it not?
I set up a board. So you're supposed to be the family store? No, I'm talking about that. Some of us don't have stuff like a lot there. I read it literally as a four. Oh, decoration.
Looks like one on the remote.
Yeah, how do you change the input?
Actually,
Perfect.
Oh, one the color. on the-
That's it all right.
literally added the four. So I think if I did something.
Huh.
better, something.
Okay, well, thank you. What, how did you show me?
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong.
All right.
As long as audience can read, I guess.
Yeah. Chair Woodson, we're ready. So,
I wonder if I could really get on. You know, to be- Even- Thank you.
thank you, Yolanda.
Yes, it's a formal session, so I have to actually open it, don't I? No. Where is it? Hidden. All right. Do that. Works. Not very loud. All right, I'll order special planning commission, not got the wrong date, but it is December 18th, 2025. Can you do a roll call?
Commissioner Barron, Commissioner Rana,
Yes.
Vice Chair Walton.
Here.
Chair Woodson.
Here.
Commissioner St. John,
Here.
Commissioner Chang,
Yeah.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Here.
You have quorum.
Thank you very much. Stuff we have. Moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. Somebody like to do that? I did it last month. Okay. Commissioner St. John.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. So. That's during October, all right, so. So on this, I just want to make sure I get it right. So we do the study session first, and then we go through the regular. Okay. So, and we don't have, and because it's a study session, there would be, we wouldn't, so why would we not do, just curious, why would we do that? Because it's staying aligned to the normal meeting. That's why we do the opening comment public.
You have to speak into the microphone. Okay.
So the reason that we don't do the communications from the floor at the beginning now is because we're just saving that for the regular meeting.
Yeah, we're just trying to jump right into the purpose of starting at 5:30 was just to
Jump right in.
give
Got
as
it.
much time as we can to really slice and dice the issue and then move into a very small ADU ordinance update that's required by state law.
Okay. So let's go ahead and jump into the study session.
Great.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here again to discuss the ordinance amendments proposed for short-term rentals, Chapter 17.42.170. Yes. Next, please. Oh, you are. Okay, sorry. A history of short-term rentals. The most prominent platform began in 2008. Its purpose was to provide a bedroom rental for guests when hotels were completely booked. Property owners then began using their properties as short-term rentals without any regulations, since it was a new business opportunity for them. Short-term rental issues, they were unregulated in the beginning. Owners began renting out the entire house. Some short-term rentals were used for large parties and gatherings. Some STR activities resulted in stabbings and shootings in most extreme cases. Short-term rental platforms have since banned parties and they're strictly prohibited in their rules. Next. please.
You can just say next slide.
Okay. Short-term rental ordinances, jurisdictions began enacting STR ordinances in the mid-2010s. Some cities banned short-term rentals altogether, while others provided different options. Some cities like Santa Monica only allow hosted STRs, which means the owner has to live on site and only, part of the house can be rented. Some only allow them in commercial zones only, such like Los Angeles and San Diego. Some, which is San Francisco, one city like San Francisco, which is where short-term rentals initially started, they only allow short-term rentals for primary residences, and they only allow 90 nights per year. Some jurisdictions only allow them in the coastal zone only to provide the community access to the coastal zone via short-term rentals. Cities like Oceanside, Pacific Grove, and Monterey County. Some cities have banned them altogether, cities such as Irvine, Del Mar, Santa Ana, Anaheim, Carmel, Rancho Palos Verdes, Redondo Beach, Sausalito, Tiburon, Beverly Hills. Next slide, please. Short-term rentals in the Monterey Peninsula. In the city of Monterey, they are prohibited. In Carmel by the Sea, they're also prohibited. In the city of Pacific Grove, only 250 permits are allowed. In Delray Oaks, 25 permits are allowed. In Seaside, 90 permits are allowed, and they offer hosted and non-hosted. In Sand City, 15 permits are allowed. And in Marina, short-term rentals are permitted. There currently is no limit, and there's 33 issued permits as of today. Next slide, please. We're going to delve into each city in our jurisdiction, in our county, or at least in the peninsula. Pacific Grove, short-term rental licenses are limited to 250 citywide. They must be the applicant must be the owner of the of record, and the subject property must be in the coastal or commercial zone. They do have an exclusionary rule of the 55-foot zone, so you can't have more than one within 55 feet of each other. And they require a site manager or property manager is required to be available to manage their property unless the owner lives no more than 30 minutes away by vehicle and can respond if there's any issues. Next slide, please. Delray Oaks. Short-term licenses are, short-term rental licenses are limited to 25 citywide. Once again, the applicant must be the owner of record. They must provide a nuisance response plan filed with the city. And each host must either act or appoint a rental site manager who shall be on call 24/7. And they shall respond within 30 minutes from the time of notification of any issue to address concerns or complaints. And they must have a contact information placard posted on the property. And they require the host to provide or preserve 3 years of records for city inspection. City of Seaside, they have a limit of 90 permits citywide. They must be the owner of the property. And if a permit is revoked, they cannot reapply for 2 years. They also have the 55-foot zone of exclusion. And the property must be safe to inhabit. Properties under construction or vacant land will not be considered for the waiting list. Each host or site manager must respond within 60 minutes from time of notification. They also must have the short-term rental placard. And they do have a maximum number of vehicles, cannot exceed the total number of bedrooms included in the rental. And staff is required to complete a property inspection initially, and with each renewal, they must go out to the property. Next slide. Sand City, they have a cap of 15 permits. The applicant must be the owner of the owner of record, and they must also appoint a site manager who shall be on call 24/7. And they must respond within 30 minutes of notification. They also must have a short-term rental placard displayed. And they are also, staff is also required to complete a property inspection initially and with each renewal. Next slide, please. City of Marina's short-term rental ordinance. On November 5th of 2019, City Council adopted ordinance 2019-02, amending the zoning ordinance to include 17.42.170 entitled Short-Term Rentals, which established a permitting process and appropriate standards for whole dwelling units or portions of the same for a period of 29 consecutive days or less, along with associated regulations to mitigate negative impacts. Next slide, please. Here is a current slide. I know it's kind of small, but it has the little houses displaying the locations of the short-term rentals. We currently have 33 permits, and it's mainly in Central Marina because some of the HOAs of the major developments have banned them. The Dunes, Sea Haven, and there's a condo property, a large property, Peninsula Point, that have banned short-term rentals in their developments, so they're not allowed. Next slide, please. Short-term rental TOT revenue. You can see that initially in fiscal year 1920, there was minimal revenue. With every year it began increasing. Currently, the last fiscal year, the revenue from TOT was 192,000. And that only represents 10 months of activity. Next slide, please. Short-term rental issues. Properties have some of the properties are being purchased specifically to obtain a short-term rental permit. At least the number's a little off. At least 11 of the properties were previously listed as long-term rentals. So before they were purchased, they served as long-term rentals. And then the new owner bought them and requested a short-term rental permit. We have LLCs with 2 members, each holding a short-term rental permit. We have one owner purchasing 4 properties. And then when they were notified that they could not have more permits, they transferred those properties to family members. We have another owner that wanted to obtain a short-term, one that obtained a short-term rental permit while holding a state facility license. And we have some property owners that have accessory dwelling units or junior accessory dwelling units. And even though they signed deed restrictions that stipulate the rules that they cannot be rented or used as short-term rentals, they do list them as short-term rentals. And then I find out, and then I notify them. Next slide, please. City Council direction. On August 6th of 2025, City Council initiated a discussion on strengthening the city's short-term rental program to better protect neighborhood integrity. A City Council directed staff to identify ordinance amendments that would improve the effectiveness of the program. Next slide, please. Outline of targeted changes, defining primary residence, forms of identification, advertising, parking requirements, permit application procedures, specific prohibitions, hosting platform requirements, and liability and enforcement. Next slide, please. Primary residence, the background. LLCs, couples, and immediate family members purchasing multiple properties for investment purposes. And the issues. The STR ordinance was enacted as a way to support owners living on the property, not for investment purposes. The city has a difficult time ascertaining the primary residency requirement. Solution, require homeowner exemption on the county property record. Require a minimum residency by owner of at least 6 months and require a rental ledger as proof. Limit the short-term rental use to a maximum of 180 days. For example, San Francisco limits it to 90 days. The STR applicant would be required to provide a proposed rental calendar for the fiscal year and submit a short-term rental platform transaction ledgers during the short-term rental permit renewal process. Next slide, please. Forms of identification, background. Currently, 2 forms of identification are required for initial short-term rental application. Currently, a driver's license and a utility bill suffices. The issues. New applicants are initially submitting their driver's license with their actual residence address, and once advised of the short-term rental requirement, they submit a change of address through DMV, and they are not required to submit a copy of their driver's license upon renewal. A change of address is easily submitted online. A solution, require submittal of 2 forms of identification upon renewal to include DMV vehicle registration, driver's license, state and federal tax returns, a bank account statement, voter registration, or a utility bill dated within 60 days. Next slide, please. Advertising. Background. Property owners and or their agents are listing properties as short-term rentals and advertising without a short-term rental permit and a business license. The issue. The short-term rental ordinance is currently lacking an enforcement tool to address advertisement of unpermitted rentals. Solution. Created subsection 8 to STR ordinance 17.42.170 section B. We defined advertisement or advertising, and we created subsection 11 that states that advertising a short-term rental without a short-term rental license is already is a violation, and the owners or agents can be cited for it, not just the property owner. It can be the property owner and the company they hire or the person that they hire. They can all be cited. Next slide, please. Parking requirements, background. The city has received a couple of complaints regarding the large number of vehicles brought in by short-term rental guests. The issue, some short-term rentals may host up to 12 adults with equal number of vehicles, reducing street parking. A solution, we created subsection 12 to section C of the ordinance. We've listed that each designated on-site parking space at a transient use site shall be made available for use by overnight occupants of that site. And any on-site driveway must be available for the use of the guest of the site. And each private contract or tenancy shall specify what the maximum number of tenant vehicles to be parked at or in the proximity to a transient use site, whether on-street or off-street, which shall not exceed the number of bedrooms included in the contract or tenancy. The short-term rental owner will be required to provide their platform listing, and staff will ensure the parking requirements are listed on the platform listing. Next slide, please. Permit application procedures. Background, short-term rental listings did not match property records. The issue, applicants are not submitting proper documentation or supporting documents. Solution, clarified and added additional procedures to section D. Added that the short-term rental permit application fee is a non-refundable fee. Sometimes when some applicants were getting denied, they wanted their application fee refunded. So we re-added that in there, that it's non-refundable. It's the cost of reviewing the application. Section 5, requires site plans, which do not need to be drawn up by a professional, but drawn to scale, including the following: a plot plan showing location of all property lines, location of all existing buildings, and location of dimensioned on-site parking spaces, and a floor plan showing all rooms with each room labeled as to room type. This is to confirm that the listing is, and the property that is being listed matches the actual, the platform has the correct number of bedrooms that matches the property record. Bless you. Because we came across one property that the property of record listed 3 bedrooms, but they were listing it as a 4-bedroom house, and that 4th bedroom was created without permits. So that's why it matters. Bless you. Section 6, require a rental or lease agreement to be used, or house rules and requirements which shall include, but not necessarily be limited to the following. Number of guests allowed, which shall not exceed 2 per legal bedroom, plus 2 additional guests. Number of vehicles a guest is allowed to park on site and off site per section C12. And once the short-term permit is issued, the short-term rental permit number must be listed on all platform listing headlines and the platform web links provided to the city. Next slide, please. Specific prohibitions. Background. The short-term rental ordinance was enacted as a way to support owners living on the property. However, new permit applicants are recent buyers owning more than one property, reducing the housing supply. The issue. The short-term rental ordinance currently lacks a prohibition section listing specific prohibitions. Solution, we created subsection 14. The activities prohibited for short-term rentals are examples that include, but are not limited to, the following. Senior housing units and below market price units may not be used for short-term rental purposes. An owner may not have a short-term rental permit on more than one parcel for short-term rental use in the city's jurisdiction. And in addition, the parcel listed on the permit must be the owner's primary residence. And more than one short-term rental booking may not occur concurrently per parcel. Commercial or assembly uses such as weddings, corporate events, and parties are prohibited in short-term rentals. And short-term rentals to unaccompanied minors is prohibited. Next slide, please. Hosting platform requirements. Background. Platform providers are not compelled to share host information. The issue, the city is unable to obtain short-term rental host information. A solution. We created subsection 6 to section E to include the newly enacted Senate Bill 346. This bill basically directs the platforms to share information with local jurisdictions, so we're adding it to our ordinance. Next slide, please. Sorry. Liability and enforcement. Background, the property owner is held responsible for short-term rental violations. The issue, property owners use property management companies and agents as host. So we added section F, basically holding, like stated before, we're able to hold the owner, the representatives, the agents, brokers, anyone assisting in the use of a short-term rental, hold them accountable. And section 2, violations of the chapter may be prosecuted pursuant to chapter 1.12.080 and issued a civil penalty not exceeding the amounts in government code section 36900D. Next slide, please. Summary of the ordinance updates. Primary residence, clearly defined primary residence and implemented duration limit. Forms of identification, listed acceptable proof of identification and require homeowners tax exemption requirement. Advertisement, defined advertisement methods and clearly listed that advertising an unpermitted short-term rental is a violation. Parking requirements, limits the number of vehicles equal to the number of bedrooms. Permit application procedures, clearly listed that that the application fee is non-refundable, require the site plan and lease agreement required, and short-term platform links must be provided. Prohibitions, senior housing and BMR properties, commercial or assembly uses, and unaccompanied minors are prohibited from the short-term rental program. Hosting platform requirements must comply with Senate Bill 346, and they must share information with the city. And liability and enforcement added to enhance enforcement to all involved parties. Next slide, please.
So some of the best management practices from other agencies include capping number of STRs. As we saw earlier in the Monterey Bay Peninsula, Marina is currently the only city that does not cap their STR. And deciding this number based on total number of licensed and unlicensed short-term rentals is one of the options that we can pursue. And this does raise an issue of equity and fairness, with limits on one property per owner. And another practice that a lot of other agencies did was setting a deadline for renewal period. This past year, I was in charge of the renewals, and even though I did send out a lot of reminders leading up to the June 30th deadline, a lot of permit owners did not follow through. So if we do cap the number of STRs, this might increase a sense of urgency, as if they fail to renew, then they would have to go to the wait list. So that is another option that we can consider. And another thing that other agencies did was considering two types of licenses, non-hosted versus hosted. We currently do not distinguish either. So, and the last thing other agencies did was having one STR per parcel, which we proposed. Next slide, please.
Analysis on, the mic. Analysis on proposed ordinance updates. To strengthen the short-term rental program, define primary residence and acceptable forms of identification, define advertising to enhance enforcement for the advertisement of unpermitted short-term rentals, establish parking requirements, prohibit short-term rental activity on properties for senior and below market rate housing, and for commercial events or unaccompanied minors, update the permit application procedures, add specific prohibitions, update the hosting platform requirements, and add liability and enforcement. And these ordinance updates are in line with ordinances in neighboring jurisdictions. Next slide, please. And here we are at the study session.
I think that concludes the.
Yes, this concludes it, and now rolling into the study session.
That was a lot of information. That was much clearer. Not that it wasn't good before, but that really outlined the issues, I think, to a much better degree. And I think it shows the complexity of what we're trying to do, that it's very easy to have a set of rules that's just a list, but then trying to provide the context to that. So what I want to do we actually have other people online?
Chair, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 people online.
So before we get into our discussion, I'm going to open up to public discussion first. That because I know we can go one way. However, I am going to set some rules on this. I am, quite frankly, a little bit frustrated from our last discussion that we had last month. That we just need to make sure that when a person gets to speak, they get to speak. It's one time, it's for a period of time. That's the end of it. That does not mean that they get to speak, pass their cell phone off to somebody else, call in on another number and speak again. I don't know what I can do from an enforcement perspective, but I can tell you that that is not a good way to build up goodwill and trust with the commission when there is active deception that is being executed to try to fool the commission. So last time that happened, just for the rest of the commission to know. So that will not happen today. And if I find out it does afterwards, then we will have additional discussions about where this goes. But it is, I want everybody to treat the commission with the same respect that we treat everybody who's a citizen who comes to speak before us. And that's one reason why I'm also opening it up to the floor first, to let you all present your opinions directly after the staff presented theirs, so that we can hear both sides of what people think before we start kind of having our discussion. And so I'm going to start with opening the floor here for discussion first, and then we'll go to people who called in.
Commissioners. They're working here. That seemed like a fun.
Just press the button. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Perfect. Hi, Commission, Chair, Vice Chair. My name is Sean McDonald. As I mentioned when I came previously, I've been a Marina resident for near the better part of a decade now, and I previously spent years working in Marina schools, myself as a teacher and my wife is a special education service provider. My home has a short-term rental permit. I want to express appreciation to the city's effort to improve the enforcement of the short-term rental ordinance. I fully support the proposal to strengthen primary residence verification. I think that's really important, that the people that are operating according to the rules. And if the rules say that they have to be a primary resident, that the city is able to enforce that. One thing I'm concerned about is the restriction on rental property to 180 days per year and the restriction to a single concurrent rental on the property. These sections of the ordinance would have a significant negative impact on families like mine who have followed the rules of the current ordinance. We have an ADU on our property. It was built prior to the rules that the state had put in place that would disallow other ADUs that were built or that were permitted from 2020 on. So ours is a ADU that it does not have to be disallowed from from STRs. The ADU on the property where I live is my home for the majority of the year. The main home is rented short-term throughout the year, and the ADU is rented short-term for a minority of the year, primarily during the summer months. This upheaval of moving in and out is really tough. but it's really important for the financial stability of our family. As they are currently proposed, the changes to the STR ordinance would have a significant negative impact on my family should they come into effect. I ask the commission remove the 180-day maximum and the restriction on concurrent rentals from the proposed ordinance. Please focus instead on primary residence verification. I think the other thing to note is while some cities have completely banned STRs, Marina does have some of the more strict regulations. The cities that do allow them largely allow them to not be primary residents in the home. The ones in Delray Oaks, the ones in Seaside, those are all can be investors purchasing the homes and don't have to be the primary residents. So it should be. I think this is really about who's a Marina resident who can provide this extra income through STRs. And I just hope that the city focuses efforts on enforcing those regulations and gets the help for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Chair, members of the commission. I don't really have a lot of comments. I don't even know how passionate I really am about this issue, but what I do know is I was involved in the first iteration of it very heavily. And so it's been kind of fun to watch how it's kind of evolved over time. I think your staff report was really good. I think they heard you and provided you solutions that seem reasonable to me. There's something that I'm noticing here tonight, though, is that there's nobody here. And one of the things that tells me is that I'm trying to find the politically correct way to say this, but nobody really cares, right? For most people, it's not a big problem, right? You haven't seen a lot of outcry on Nextdoor, maybe a few here and there, a few comments on Facebook, but by and large, I don't think it's been a huge problem. I think that there's some areas that can be improved. And I think staff presented you some solutions for that tonight. The other thing that I think is interesting, the city council talked about our affordable housing program on Tuesday. And that program disallows folks who qualify for an affordable house from renting any room, long-term or short-term. And it occurred to me that the people that need that income most are systemically being kept from earning income like their wealthier peers are. And for me, that seemed really problematic. City council didn't change that on Tuesday, and maybe they'll look at it in the future. But I would encourage you to kind of keep that lens when you look at this short-term rental ordinance too. Make sure that, people who you can really have an opportunity to help, that you're helping. And I think that there's a lot of those folks in Marina. It's a really tough thing to kind of try to figure out how to make sure you're covering all those bases. But that's just kind of the lens that I'm looking at things. I wrote down waitlist application comment. Oh, that was just something I was thinking down the side. But anyway, yeah, those are my comments. Thanks for the hard work and thanks for looking at this issue. And
Thanks,
Brian
Brian.
McCarthy, by the way, for the record.
All right, go to our online. Hey, is Seth here today?
He is here today.
Just wondering, he's been quiet. Hi, Seth.
Hello. You wanted to say something? Go ahead, Sep.
Oh, hi. No, I just wanted to say hello. I missed the little panelist promotion when it popped up. So, but yes, I am here. But if someone could resend it, then I'd be on the screen. Thank you.
Oh, what? I didn't hear what he.
Oh, maybe you don't know about that. There's a way to promote me to a panelist. I think whoever's controlling the Zoom has.
I did, but you denied the request, Sep.
I think it just timed out.
So I'll do it again.
Thank you.
So.
It's all good. I was just feeling like you missed out. You can show up to help us.
So Chair Woodson, we do have 1, 2, 3 people, 4 people online, but no one has raised their hand at this point. So.
Okay. So I'm going to open it up and say, is any one of the 4 people want to speak tonight? This is your chance. No one?
I don't see anybody who has raised their hand, Chair Woodson.
All right. Then we will close public comment.
Actually, I apologize. 2 have just raised their hand.
Okay. So go ahead and pick which one.
Minna, if you want to speak first.
Hey everyone, do you guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for inviting us for tonight. I just want to touch base for some issue that you talked about. There is parties issue or people like stabbing or stuff like that. This all happened in other cities. It's never happened here in Marina or in the Bay Area or in the peninsula. We don't tolerate any party or like anybody that come here make noise or anything like that. We live on site, we live close by our properties, and we never like hear any issue like that. And we have zero tolerance for stuff like this, and that's clear for any of our client or guest. So that's number one. Number two, that you guys offer 90 days or 180 days short-term rental. It's hard for us to figure out days like this for our client or guest. And basically, if we apply these rules, 90 days or 180 days, that basically it shut us down. It kill us. It kill us the whole business, the TOT, everything. So nobody gonna rent a property 6 months or like 3 months of the year, and how do you live of that? Like how do you rent it? So that's gonna be tough to choose like 90 days or 180 days. Hopefully you guys look into it in a different or like positive way, because we never experience any bad thing here or any negative stuff that you guys mentioned, like stuff like this. So the third one that you guys mentioned, if it's a short-term rental, reducing the housing needs. So basically, if you buy a property in 2025 or 2024 for like maybe 800,000. So the accessor office, they apply the property tax for $800,000. So you have a big bill to pay, insurance, big bill to pay as well. So everything is jacked up. So if you rent it as a long term, you will never find somebody to live in it for a long term, because nobody can afford 5,000 or 5,500. Nobody can afford it. So there would be a bad investment for a homeowner or a millennials or somebody in their 30s or like 25 years old buy like their dream home, or like the American dream, you call it. So that's gonna be tough. So if you put yourself in our shoes, and we put ourselves in your shoes as well, we apply the regulation. We respect the rules. We respect the policy or like the safety, all the stuff. But don't shut us down for one negative thing that happened elsewhere and apply it for us and just say, hey, 90 days or 180 days, because that won't work for us. It will hurt our business. It will kill us, and it will shut us down. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mina. Next.
That is all for now, Chair Woodson, but let me just give people a couple of seconds to.
Okay, it's fine. We got a little time.
I don't see anybody else that's raised their hand.
Why are you that?
All right. All right, go ahead and close public comment. All right, go ahead and close public comment. I think like last time, what we started to do is we started to try to classify things. Like last time when we tried to do it, we were trying to go through the regulations itself, and then that got corrected to the like very clear. I mean, I just need you to come to my regular work and teach some people there on how to organize task distance standard. To that, they're laughing. I dealt with that yesterday and it wasn't pretty. So I think what I would like to do is just, we can open up to just general comments and walk through it, or we could again, maybe just go around the room at a high level first, get comments from each of the commissioners. This is so cool. All the commissioners are here tonight. This has been a couple months and we've had everybody here. And then maybe just go through each of the slides themselves specifically, if we have specifics, and then we can address each of the areas. Does that work as a concept? All right. So I'm going to start with Vice Chair Walton.
Thank you. I feel honored. So I'm going to go and pick up right where Brian McCarthy was with the below market rate units. And I guess my question is, why are those units restricted? It does seem I don't want to say counterintuitive, but it does seem like there's some equity pieces missing. I'm not sure why. So I guess I'll start there with the why.
Uh, he mentioned it's already in the city's BMR policies about prohibiting subleasing of the units. So that's, I'd have to do some further research as to why, but that's already a restriction that somebody voluntarily agrees to do if they get one of those units. So,
I would like the city to revisit that with the BMRs.
Okay.
For the same reasons that Brian approached. Thank you, Ellen.
Is that it?
That you said high level first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, Rita, if you could just take the notes of those little add-on type of things with that, and then we'll just come back to those
sure.
in the summary. That'll be the easiest way. I'm trying to keep organized here. All right, next up is, I'm just gonna go to people I haven't heard from recently in person. So Commissioner Chang.
Thank you, Chair. Before we discuss on this SDR draft, could you explain your memorandum, item 1? Remove the language that proposed to prohibit properties with accessory dwelling, ADU, and JADU from operating a short-term rental.
Yeah, so in the draft ordinance that we brought a couple weeks ago, is that October or November? I can't remember. We were trying to not have ADUs where STRs, but the commission kind of pushed back hard on that and said, no, we don't support that. So we took out that. So if you have an ADU, you're not automatically prohibited from having an STR on your property. So.
And however, on item 8 on our agenda tonight, and there's an update of ADU ordinance to comply with the new state law, especially AB 1154. So will there be a conflict? Because we are discussing the draft right now, and then later we present to the council, and then the state law have another ordinance on it, and then there will be a conflict.
There's no conflict. I mean, ADUs. So okay. So let me clarify. So the draft ordinance that we brought several weeks ago said if you have an ADU on your property, you would be prohibited from having a short-term rental for the whole property. The commission pushed back hard on that, so we removed that restriction. The ordinance that's later in today's evening just reaffirms that JADUs and ADUs cannot be used as STRs, and that's been in state law for more than 5 years. So there is no discrepancy.
I thought the AB 1154 prohibit the city from issuing a SDR permit. All right.
Are you looking at this? So once again, the issue is the ADU itself cannot be used as a short-term rental, the ADU. What we brought to you earlier was saying if you have an ADU on the property, you couldn't have an STR for the whole property, but there's no conflict.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm sorry if I'm not explaining. I wish I could explain it better, but.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you for clarifications. And can I continue, Chair?
What's that?
Can I continue?
Yeah.
I have a few questions on the primary residence definitions that Melissa brought out. If an owner of a property and may have two property and then decided to have another one under LLC, would you consider the same owner or different primary residence?
Doing business as.
Repeat the question?
If this owner have two property, all right, one is under the owner's name, and knowing that you cannot have another one for STR, then he had it registered under LLC. And his LLC. So would you consider that
Yes, our ordinance considers that one owner.
one owner?
Mhm.
So the other thing is the 180 days annual cap you had. And how will the staff audit this? 180 days?
How will we what?
How do you audit this?
They would provide a ledger, so they would provide they would provide a proposed calendar. If they're a new applicant, they would provide a proposed schedule, right? Or we're gonna rent it out the month of August, June, July, August, because it's the summer months, or something to that effect, right? At the end or upon renewal, they're gonna submit their ledger to attest that or prove that they didn't rent it out for more than 180 days or whatever days we agree on or we propose, or we amend the ordinance to. So it's gonna be a checks and balance, right? They're gonna submit a proposal, and then at the end of the renewal period or during the renewal period, they'll submit their evidence, their
Okay.
ledgers.
So I think the way it's written also right now, there's a second way that would be done is that since you can't have concurrent rental, there would only be 1 day per unit.
Mhm.
And literally you would just multiply the business tax that was paid for each day. I mean, you just multiply that. Okay, I submitted $100 and it was $10 a day, then, okay, 100 divided by 10 is 10 days. I mean, that would be a quick and easy way to calculate it. Because we would actually have those records also. Correct?
And
Yes, and especially under the SB 346, we're actually going to be
We're
able to
actually
get
required-
more
We're
information
gonna have
now.
required, it's part of that.
Yeah.
So I think that there are restrictions on that. Now I do want to come back to the concurrent rental because I have questions about that.
all right, so you're saying basing on the information submitted and also in the last meeting, we talked about it seems like the enforcement is depending on the complaint driven. That means when there's a complaint, then you look into it. I'm thinking of, should we be more proactive in enforcement rather than reactive?
So I'm very proactive when it comes to the short-term rentals. I do a search at least once every few weeks because they're supposed to have the permit number on top, right? On the main description. So you're able to quickly see if it's a permitted or unpermitted. The difficult part is finding the owner, right? Looking at the photos, trying to determine what house this is in Marina because it doesn't have the address. Now we have a Senate bill that we can contact the platform and obtain the address. That's why it's added to the ordinance. But for the most part, myself and the inspectors that we have, we're able to identify the houses by the photos. And then I contact them via either in person or at the house or by sending them a notice. The quickest way is to send them a message via the platform, informing them that they need to contact the city to obtain a permit for short-term rental or remove the listing.
And may I know how many staff do you have?
How many what?
Staff do you have?
It's just her.
How many employees do you?
It's just me.
Okay.
Me, myself.
So it is time consuming, right? So adding some of these updates will make my job easier and will clarify, right, for the public as to the rules and regulations.
And that's why I feel kind of funny. You alone and you have to carry out all this. And basically, I don't think you have the time and you need waiting for someone to complain. But again, according to your data here in 2025, the revenue is 192,000. And my study is you could easily have $300,000 to $600,000 revenue. If we based on the you're talking about 180 houses would be STR. The last time. I think you based.
180 days.
180 days.
Oh, 180 days. No, I think that's let me check.
Right now, we only have 33 permits.
You have 33 permit.
Mhm.
I think you could have more, could we? I think let's base on $200 a night and 180 nights and the housing we have right now is 8,474 units based on US Census. And let's say we estimate 150 units that we are renting out with 1.8% percentage on the housing stock. We based on 1.8%. And with the tax of 12%, you can have $648,000.
We'll just keep going. Yeah, thank you.
So if let's say the minimum, let's say 324. All right. What I'm saying is maybe you have the revenue to hire another staff and a full time to regulate this, to enforce this, rather than basing on reactive approach. That's my view. I think Maybe it's good to do a.
Tell your council member in the audience they should hire more staff, so.
We have Brian.
so-
And then the last I had is, I know someone brought up 180 days and why not 90 days? And, I think over here we proposed 180 days, 189, sorry. So I would suggest, because this is a significant change in this draft. So maybe it's good in the motions to add a sunset clause into it for 3 years, so that the city council could come back and review it again. You know. I think I mentioned that in the last meeting about sunset clause, if we going to go forward with this. All right, that's all I have to say. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks. All right, I'm just gonna go back and forth. Commissioner Rana?
Okay. The state mandated version that you have as,
Mm-mm.
each city defines, isn't it state mandated?
No, you don't have to have STRs in
No,
your
I'll say
city.
FDR.
You can.
Define the purpose of this kind of policy. It can be the regulation, mitigating the number of rooms available for boys, or giving benefits to the property owners to mitigate some of the expenses in the living. So what is the underlying purpose as far as Marina is concerned that we have discussed?
The purpose of the ordinance is to potentially to continue to allow this use in the city, but do so in a way that's respectful of the neighborhood. And that for as long as I'll be working as a planner, these type of permits will continue to, property owners will want to continue to rent them out for income purposes, which is in our city allowed for now. And neighborhoods will continue to push back in terms of, is it too many? Is it how many days? Is it too loud? Is it too many cars? And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to strike a balance here between supporting the local business owner, but do so in a way that respects the neighborhood. So thank you for asking. It's a very good question you asked. So. It's the tax that we get from them. Yeah.
The way it kind of goes to the law enforcement record that any complaint on this or violations or anything of that nature.
We have not, but that actually might be good for the council to hear if there were significant calls for service. That's something if we could, bring back to commission or council. So yeah, that's a good question. So calls for service.
PRA request.
And ever since the has there been any representation of
Not that I'm aware of in the 4 years that I've been here. But
I do think there have been violations that have been documented.
yeah, I'm sorry. I think he asked revocation. Did you ask revocation or
You can ask
violation?
Revocation,
Yeah.
but I think to kind
Yeah.
of build in between the two
So-
is the number, is there a periodic? Do we have consistent violations that are showing up at certain STRs?
Yeah, so no revocations, definite violations, but part of the goal of the ordinance is to make Marissa's job easier so that if we do have problematic sites, that she can not have to expend so much of her time and we can quickly move towards, whatever code enforcement. So that is part of the goal, is to free up staff. We can get some of the edits here from the commission and council.
Days. That's what you said. But my suggestion is that the whole Monterey Peninsula, people come from outside as tourists, and it is all seasonal. So can we have some kind of a study that in what season, what months, we have the maximum influx and pressure on the local hotels and others that people prefer to go to the STR. So in that analysis, if it comes more than 180 days, why not permit that? Because the very purpose is to give benefits to the renters and even revenue. So if the requirement is there, increase that limit to 180 days.
We currently don't have that data. That would probably take a little bit of Marissa and Brian's time to put together. But as of now, we don't have that data right now. So.
And other issue is that generally in the neighborhood, the nuisance part, the houses with the swimming pools and barbecue pits and everything, the people party outside and then nuisance comes. So if you can incorporate in the rules some limitations that up to this time, we can have this party outside, and beyond that, it should not be there because that causes inconvenience to people. And in fact, I know some police officers, and they say that they get calls at late at night that the party is going on, they're creating nuisance in the neighborhood, having barbecue party and all that, and they are the guests, food come from outside. So we can incorporate that limitation of usage of STR for the guests.
I'd have to work with our legal department on that. That gets into some First Amendment freedom of association issues in terms of, what people do at a house and a gathering and all that. So I mean, that would take a little bit more. And in terms of enforcement, that would be a little bit of a challenge in terms of, because we're not here at midnight monitoring that. But I understand the sentiment. And once again, the sentiment is to try to support the STR permit holders, but do so in a way that respects the neighborhood. So, yeah. So primarily Brian does. It's quite a bit of paperwork, and if he could go over that now, if the commission wants or not, or so.
There is collective oversight on the whole process and more transparency.
Okay.
And my last question is on the one parcel, which Chang brought out, to then have somebody has two properties, one and the other on LLC and LLC. If one has more.
Yeah, and maybe Marissa, you can elaborate if 4 people are in an LLC and each of them own an STR, can you walk me through what the new ordinance would say on, so I understand?
It defines one owner as being either an LLC, a partnership, married couple. They're all one owner. Doesn't matter if they add 10 people to the LLC. They're one owner.
Right, and I believe that's the genesis of the beefing up the primary resident language in the draft ordinance before you tonight. So is that correct, Miss?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Let's see where to start. At the beginning. Okay, I don't have a lot of notes, but on the short-term rental requirements and conditions, C, paragraph C,
Commissioner St. Do you want to reference if it's 1742-170 or what, and what subset, just so we can
okay,
follow?
yeah. 1742-170. A, B, A is purpose, B definition. C is requirements and conditions.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Thank you.
Or the short-term rental permit fee. The fee should, the permit fee is for the year. One fee
That's correct.
collected
That's correct.
prior to the issue of the license or the renewal of the license.
That's correct.
And it should cover not just the issuance of the license, but the administrative costs throughout the year and enforcement costs.
Yes, that's the goal of all of our fees is to cover staff time. That's correct.
And keep on going down to specific prohibitions.
Oh, so you're in
uh,
section
item
14? Section 14?
Section 14.
Okay.
You've listed two. One of them was the senior housing units, which appears to be argumentative, and the below market rate units. I don't have any arguments with that. Nor the next one, that the short-term permit is for no more than one parcel. But the prohibition essentially is the general prohibition is for investment properties and rental units, apartments, any other investment. We're only allowing this current
Use permit.
would only allow primary residences. That's, I guess, the key.
Actually, no, if you look at the memo that Brian prepared, the introductory memo, yeah, so bullet point 2 of the memo that Brian prepared, we did remove the language proposed to limit STRs to only single family because we got pushback from commission and the community saying that might not be equitable. So it's more than just single family. So.
But you said to get a license, you had to be the owner. In fact, whether your owner called an LLC or a very.
There's a distinct, so just to clarify, yes, we want you to live there. The original language was taken out related to just single family zones. So that's the distinction. We want you to live in the property, but we're not limiting it to just single family residential zoning districts. So that's the distinction.
Okay. Are we excluding investment property?
Yes.
Okay. It's not a specific prohibition according to section 14, but if you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, we're excluding
we want you to, just,
specifically prohibiting investment
yeah,
property
and
to
just,
be ineligible
Sorry.
as a short-term rental.
yeah, just to clarify, like, we're not restricting people's property rights, because that would be, we have to be careful there. We want you to live there. We want you to live there for a majority of the year. And we want you to be a good property owner and rent out these units in a way that doesn't disturb the neighborhood. Because once again, the balance is people using the property, but doing it in a way that respects the neighborhood. That's really what we're trying to do here today.
Would it be proper to say under section 14, number 3, investment properties are excluded?
I'd have to defer to SEP on that in terms of property rights issues, our attorney. So he'd have to weigh in on
Okay.
if we would be able to use that language. So
I think the bigger problem there was like, how do you define that? I'm not aware of a single definition in state law. So I think what staff is trying to do is do it objectively by using the number of days and the primary residence requirement.
I guess jump in on this one. We'll move on off of this topic. Is investment property has a very specific legal definition from a financing perspective, and primary versus investment versus secondary versus vacation. And if we have somebody who it's not their primary, they live in Marina, they have a home that's down the street, it's 2 houses down, that's their primary home, the house next door that they want to use as an STR, they're not living there, but it would be considered an investment property because it's not their primary home. But it's still meeting the intention of what we're trying to do, which is to promote responsible use of the property in the city. So I think, the investment definition is one that I've been kind of hung up on for the last couple months of reading through this. But we can come back to it. But
Yeah.
I think that's, I know what we're trying to do here, but then I'm trying to balance that off of, okay, if from an enforcement perspective, if I went to a bank and I said, this is an investment property, the bank would say, yeah, it's an investment property because it's not my primary that I'm living in.
okay, yeah, we would have to work with SEP in
So
terms
just
of some definitions.
Just to follow up on what Chair Woodson has said, if you live on address 1 and down the street in close proximity to you, you have a piece of other property that is not your primary residence. Is there any way that you can put that other piece of property as short-term rental?
So in this ordinance update, we are proposing or we're requesting to amend it to include that the property record has to have the property listed or has to have the homeowner's exemption for taxable purposes, because that definition for the state definition means that it's an owner occupied home.
Okay.
That's the simplest way for us to determine if that property is the owner's primary home. Currently, only 9 houses or 9 properties have those of the 33 permits.
Uh-huh. So by inference, the other 21 or so properties are, because they don't have the homeowner's exemption, which the primary residence is entitled to. And if it's not your primary residence, you're not entitled to the homeowner's exemption.
Right.
Right.
And so if they don't have the homeowner's exemption, they should get it to get their short-term rental, or it's not eligible.
Correct.
Short-term
And
rental.
that's what the other cities in the peninsula
And
require.
more than likely, if you don't have the homeowner's exemption, it's investment type property,
More than likely.
More than likely.
more than likely. Okay, just moving on. Yeah, I caught it again. Let's see, we're under paragraph D, the application procedures. item 4, the short-term permit application is non-refundable. The permit application is a non-refundable fee, and it is the primary fee for the license. That's correct? I'm reading into that, but
That's correct. And it's put in there just to be redundant, but all of the planning fees are non-refundable. But we just wanted to be abundantly clear because I understood from Marissa that when people run into some issues, they now all of a sudden want their refund back, but we've already expended 4 to 6 hours on that permit. So
I would say that the fee will cover the estimated costs of reviewing the application, administrative costs for the year or the life of the
that's true.
license,
Yes,
and enforcement for violations.
that's true.
Because right now you're just saying that it's the cost of reviewing the application.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If the commission wants, we could certainly add verbiage that says, and for enforcement of the ordinance or something to that effect.
Yeah, I don't know what the value of the fee is, but reviewing an application, some people might think that that's a 8 or 10 hour job at the most. And yet to manage this program, each license for the year takes considerably more time and cost than just reviewing the application and issuing the license. The real challenge is throughout the year when things go south. Okay. There's discussion on limiting the number of STRs, but I don't think we've reached any consensus on it. And right now we have unlimited.
Correct. There's no limit. And so we do get questions from agents and from the public asking if we allow them, right before they buy the house. If,
Isn't there a limit on, you can only have so many within 20 houses or something like that?
no,
I think we need to look at least saying no more than X number, and that might be as low as 1 per block or per side of the street per block. Otherwise, what I'm trying to avoid is a concentrated disruptions that are probably the source of most complaints on short-term rentals. And if you have a concentration of STRs on 1 block or 2 blocks, then you're going, which I didn't notice. I thank you for the map showing the location of the 30 some odd STRs. It didn't look like there was a concentration. It looked like they were.
yeah, he's zooming in, trying to.
Yeah, there can be minor circles of concentration, but
I'm
We-
still looking at it. I'm curious.
we might want to consider, if not this year, in the future, to limiting the concentration per block.
Yes, we currently only have 2 sets of properties, so 4 properties, but in one neighborhood, we have 2 houses across from each other. Actually, 2 neighborhoods. The 2 houses are short-term rentals and they're across from each other, across the street, on 2 different streets.
Okay, now, is there any, before a license is granted, is there any inspections of the property, physical inspection?
We're going to be starting to do that. So
Yeah,
You're
we
starting
started,
to do that.
yes, we started doing that because I started coming across, issues where the records didn't match the property.
Yeah,
And typically before the house is sold, I go out there and inspect the property, the outside of it. So I'm familiar with the site. And then shortly after, typically how it works is after I do the inspection, it goes through escrow, and then within a few weeks, we get an STR permit in the queue. Like, I just did the inspection. So, it's a house that just got bought and obviously was for an investment, and now it's going through the permit process. So I'm familiar with the properties usually for the most part.
All right. Is there any requirement for health and safety? I guess fire alarms, depending upon the age of the property, smoke and CO2.
So through the
CO.
permit process, they're attesting that the house is safe, right? And same when they get the business license, right? For the smoke alarms, most of these short-term rental permits that are coming in through the queue are new properties or properties that got recently purchased. And the seller has established that through the residential property inspection that I inspect, that every room or sleep room has a smoke detector. But are they subject to the fire standards, for commercial properties? No, fire does not go out there.
The fines, the state law has defined how much fine can be. Is that right?
Yes, the government code establishes the max limit.
Are we aligned with that?
Yes.
Yes, it was that's why we added the government code, because before it wasn't included. We have our chapter 1 regarding fees, right, which is $100 and $200 and then $500 per day per violation. But the government code, specifically for short-term rentals, it has their own fines, which is it's a lot more.
Okay. Okay, then the last thing, instead of a sunset clause or something, I would propose that this ordinance be reviewed every 2 years from now. That after this year, maybe it's not necessary to do it next year, but at the most every 2 years, because regulations change and market behavior changes. And we might want to stop it altogether or expand it to 500 homes or something. So anyway, have the ordinance be reviewed every 2 years.
We can certainly add that to the planning work plan. That's fine.
That's all I've got. Thanks.
Two more than me. Commissioner Barron?
Thank you, Chair. A couple of things. I want to raise the 180 days. I want to raise the issue of the 180 days that other two more commissioners mentioned. I still don't understand why 180.
So there's 365 days in the year. We're trying to make sure that somebody's actually living in the property for approximately half the year, that it's their primary residence.
What if it's an addition like an ADU?
They can't rent out the ADU as an STR. So.
Okay. I do know that some people live on the property and rent a bedroom.
Right.
So they are there all the time. So why can't they rent it, the other bedroom more than 180 days? They live there.
That's a good point. And I'd have to defer to Marissa about that specific addition to the ordinance. So if it was just a room, not the whole house.
Yeah, we do have a couple, and you can find them online. Maybe 2 properties that only rent a room, and you can tell because they're not renting the whole house out. So I mean, if the commission wants to create an exemption for the owners that only rent a bedroom, we can definitely add it.
And I would just add, in case the commissioner is asking about long-term rentals of a room in a home where the owner is occupying the residence, I don't think the ordinance intends to affect long-term rentals.
Correct.
I'm
but-
speaking about short-term.
Okay.
Yeah, she's mentioned.
Yeah, because I know, I'm aware of one property that they live on site and they only rent a bedroom. It's a short-term rental, not long-term.
Yeah. The other thing I want to add to Audra, below market rate, I understand below market rates have a lot of limitations, not just the short term. But apartment complexes are still included. So if an apartment complex does not have a prohibition on short term, why shouldn't somebody who has an apartment rent their apartment for short term?
Right, that's what the commission told us, so we took that out of the ordinance, so you could potentially allow that.
I saw apartment complexes on the, yeah.
Right.
So I just want to bring that up.
Yeah.
Question to Brian. Did you ever deny somebody a permit?
I have denied and they have applied in the past. They have a big due of TOT that they have not, paid off yet, so I have denied in the past.
Is there a list of reasons for denial?
If they do not meet the requirements that our current, ordinance has, then they are subject to denial.
So it's very clear to people who ask for who apply for permits, why they're denied, so there's not going to be any lawsuits or complications.
That is correct.
All right, thank you. I'm done, thank you.
Commissioner Jacobs, we're just gonna skip you. Sorry. That's it. We're out
Okay,
of time.
thank you, Chair. My comments, I don't think they're odd, but so we have a number of people who have a primary residence. They've since built an ADU. They're living in the ADU and they are using the primary home as an STR. Number one is that kind of violates the purpose of the ADU. The ADU was built so we could help people that needed low-cost housing, not as a primary residence for the resident. Secondly is when I apply for a mortgage, I get a mortgage for this home. Then I figure out it'd be better if I built an ADU and I moved into the ADU. Does that primary building on the property now become a subsidy? Is it now a commercial building? Is it a rental? What is it? I don't live in it anymore.
Depends on how is it for mortgage loan purposes? Is it for living purposes? It kind of depends on.
Yeah, so we talked, I'm trying to remember the word that we used for somebody that's buying a house just to use it for an STR. What's that word?
Investment property, that's the
Huh?
term, investment property, yeah.
So the primary residence becomes an investment property.
I guess in that scenario, yes.
So I don't think we should deny STRs because there's an ADU on the property. But I do think that we should prohibit people from renting out their primary house and then moving in the ADU, thus violating the purpose of the ADU to begin with.
So we proposed that at the first meeting, but the commission and the community pushed back hard, so we took that out. But if it's the will of the full commission, it can be added back.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be, I mean, it would be day forward. So anybody that's in that situation now stays in that situation, but it's prohibited from,
Well, the thing is, the
forward.
permit's only good for 1 year. So it would, the next year when it comes up for renewal, it will become an issue for those people.
it just,
Yeah.
it just troubles me as, I wanted to make the comment and have it heard. It's
Right, which is why Marissa brought that point up, that it kind of defeats the purpose of the
It does.
UDO
It does.
ordinances. Yeah. So we concur, but we were trying to be respectful of the intent and direction we got from commission. So.
Yeah, so to add,
I remember that discussion. I remember the whole thing and I remember the people that were here saying, if I didn't have this ADU, I couldn't afford to live here.
Right.
And it's like, well, wait a minute.
Right.
You got a mortgage for the house when you bought it. I'm just troubled by it. I want to see ADUs built and used as ADUs, not as primary residences for somebody that already lives there.
Are homestead exemptions given for ADUs?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what a homestead exemption is. So.
Homestead exemption is given by the county for the primary residence. You have to apply for it. And if you sign the paper saying that you live there, that's your primary residence, then they will give you a homestead exemption, and it cuts $7,000 a year off your.
Yeah.
That's
So-
the home.
tax
So,
company.
so if you go to the draft ordinance, that's on the primary residence definition. So under section B2, that's what Marissa's adding, the Monterey County Assessor homeowner exemption. So, yeah.
I don't understand that the county gives a homeowner exemption different from, I think they give it for the piece of property with the residence on it, not whether it has an ADU or a junior ADU. Your
That,
exemption is for that.
it's for the property. It's,
as a home
it's for the property.
property.
Right.
So if you have an ADU and a junior ADU, and you choose to live in the ADU and rent out the property, you're still in accordance with this plan. You're entitled to the license for STR.
That's true, but Commissioner Jacobson was pointing out the intent of ADU law, which we'll talk later on in this meeting. So kind of related, but separate topic.
So,
Pretty related.
so I do want to add that Santa Cruz County, it was mentioned in the previous meeting, Santa Cruz County has banned the issuance of STR permits for properties that have an ADU, right? Because the intent of the ADU law is to create housing. But if you're issuing an STR permit where someone is going to live in the ADU and then rent out, then that's defeating the purpose.
Yeah, I don't want to go that far to say you can't have an STR. But what I do, if you want to live in the house and have it as an STR, meaning you go live somewhere else when somebody is in the house, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
But to go live in the ADU, which violates the purpose of the ADU, that bothers me. So I'm trying to see if there's a medium in there, there's language somewhere where we could not eliminate STRs because there's an ADU on the property, but set some kind of a guideline that says you can't do this and you can't do that. I'm not sure what that is.
That's one of the reasons why we added the 180 days, right?
That
But,
doesn't really do it.
No.
though. That, I don't think that really does it.
and of the 33 permits, a lot of them are newer or recently purchased homes. And yes, as soon as they either add a JEDU or an ADU, they request a permit. Sometimes they get the permit first and then we get another building permit or an ADU construction, right? So,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so maybe that's one of my questions. It goes with this. The series of ADU regulations that have been put in place in the last 5 years, since 2020, have generally been about streamlining the process to increase the housing stock. And so part of the ADU regulations are about waiving requirements. It's about getting in at a lower price point, which is giving them basically an incentive to create an ADU. And so if I look at it from an incentive perspective, which is I think maybe where I'm not in complete agreement on this, is if somebody builds an ADU, but they have not taken the incentives from the state, and they have spent the full price of permitting and the full timeline of permitting that it would take to go through the normal process, and it's still an ADU, then why would I care at that point if they're using their regular home or their ADU? Because at that point, they have not taken advantage of the incentive programs from the state. And that's where I kind of draw my line is if they're just building a second property on their home or a residence on their home and they're following the normal process, I don't really care if it's labeled an ADU or a house or whatever, that they're allowed a dwelling that they can live in. Now, if they take an incentive from the state, and I mean, I think this goes back to some bigger conversations that are going on in the city right now. But I think that's where where I come back to your conversation and these points of, okay, I'm asking somebody I'm putting an artificial limit, 180 days on it. We're saying that people can't afford to stay in the area, but where they're living and they're literally moving in and out of their residences so they can create the capability to provide this. All we're doing is we're creating a hassle. Now, again, if they've taken an incentive to do that, to streamline the process to get it in place, I think that's a different story. You took the incentive, and if you took it and you didn't understand it, then, well, maybe that's just the way it is. But if you haven't taken that incentive, or you were before it, then I just don't see, I think that's where I draw my line on it is, and we can look at that because we can literally in our file system have a attribute that states, did they receive incentives from the state to build this ADU? And if they do, then they're not eligible.
Well, what about not just from the state? What if they use one of the plans that we already have to streamline that process?
Well, anything that's using a streamlining of that's an incentive.
Okay, yes, but you said state incentive.
Well, state law driven incentive programs. And we use that grant program based on, so I get your point. I mean, I think the point is if they've received some type of benefit from us during the permitting process, whether it's from the prefab designs, whether it's from a specific one of our AV regulations that are driving the housing crisis response, then the check mark is, nope, you've driven it. You're not eligible to be able to do this. But if you didn't do anything and you just paid full price and you paid retail MSRP for both your properties, just because one is labeled an ADU by definition and one is labeled a primary residence by ADU, then why would I want to restrict that?
Right.
And so I think that may be the drawing line that you're talking about of, okay, how do we measure it? And maybe that is kind of the point that we would like to be put in place. And I think it's a realistic one. It's not something that's just arbitrary. It's like you either got something or you didn't as a benefit. And I mean, that'd be my first thought on that.
It's a good one. Good one. All right, to move on to another topic. Some of the cities have put limits or, top end, how many STRs they can have in their community. One of my questions, it seemed rather arbitrary as I looked at the different, as you put them on the screen. I mean, larger cities have less, some smaller cities have more. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any ream or reason for that. Has anybody actually used a formula in the United States of America that it works?
Well, I would say anecdotally, we've all spoken with different cities, and Marissa can correct me, but I think part of putting a cap is when we've reached out to other cities, if you violate the ordinance, you get taken off of the approved list and you get put on the wait list. And you have 1 or 2 year penalty where you can't reapply. So there is a little bit of incentive to use the word to fully comply, make sure you don't have any violations. So the answer to your question is yes, it has worked.
Yeah.
We actually reached out to Nick in Sand City, and they don't have a code enforcement problem because they have a cap, and you get a penalty for violating. So to answer your question, it does work in other cities. So
how do you determine what the cap is?
So we spoke to City of Seaside. Brian scheduled the meeting, and the way they did it when they created the cap was they looked at how many permits they had at that moment. And then they added how many, like, it was just kind of like a guesstimate of like the unpermitted ones that they were trying to legalize. And then they set it. I think theirs is 90 or something. I have to look. So even though Seaside is bigger than us, their number is not really large in my opinion, but they basically said, oh, we have 50 or 60 legal. We're going to add half of that and just say the max is 90. We're not going above that.
So the point was to drive compliance to a level to say, okay, we're not going to restrict you because we hope we are getting in that we're going to be conservative. We're going to try to get the full number. We want everybody to be registered. But what we're not going to do is set a level that all of a sudden could leave some people outside of that and just say, oh, well, I'm 101, I'm out. So they set a safety level and then they added a factor above it. I'm
Correct,
assuming
yeah.
That's what it sounds like they did.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would almost flip that on its head And I'd say that, here you are, one person managing this program. What is the city's goal in terms of a revenue number that they'd like to see coming from these that could help the community maintain the enforcement and not overburden the city? So I would almost do it that way as opposed to an arbitrary 10% or 20% or something. I do a little business study on it and say, okay, we can manage 100, but we cannot manage 150.
Good point.
So there's some, I just gave you a job, I think. I didn't mean to do that.
That's fine. That's fine.
Exponentially, if you go to 150. I know, but that's. Hire a second person. But do we want to hire a second person? Do we want to be managing all? It's a business. It's a
But
business
I
issue,
think it's a better,
not just a revenue issue.
it's a better floor. It's a more business-driven use case that
Yes.
we're looking at instead of, the case of Seaside was, we need to get something in place. And it's not just Seaside, because I've watched this in South Lake, I've seen it in Placerville, I've seen it in some other places, that they want to get something in place and so they put it in place and they get it, and then they find it didn't work and they have to adjust.
Right.
And the reasons they adjust are multiple. It works, it doesn't work, it's noise, I mean, there are a myriad of reasons. The point is that they just drop something in place. And I think that's where I agree with you. I'd rather see a more use case driven response than just a, hey, how many do we think we have? Because that if it's use case driven, we put a, and it doesn't have to be this massive big study, but we have that, then we have something we can justify.
Right.
And then we keep that for going back to Congressman. I promoted you to Congressman Chang. Commissioner Chang. It goes back to kind of your sunset issue, some of the other things you've raised, which is what we're doing is we're now setting standards, and he's talking about a sunset clause. Ours is it's a review clause that, okay, after a few years, we can go back and we can relook at it. We're not telling us that we're not setting a cap because we are setting a cap for cap's sake. We're setting it so that we can manage growth of the process. And we just come back to it. And after 2 years, we do a quick study and like, okay, it makes sense to come back to the city council and say, okay, we think it should be from 115 to 165 because we think we can manage it and it's not impacting the city or whatever the metrics are that and the SLAs that you're going to put in place against it.
Yeah.
I remember in the last meeting, the number was thrown out, 150 units, STR.
Yeah.
That's why I'm basing on that. I think we can generate about $648,000.
Yeah, I definitely think
But do we want to do that?
But I think a business use requirement, I think is a better way of looking at it because coming back to the multiple discussions that the Bryan City Council have of where's our budget come from? How do we project our budget? Everything else, it just falls in line of how you build a budget. Usually we don't build budget lines by just saying, hey, I wish I had another fire station someplace. There's a reason why we want a fire station where we want it, is my point. And so we justify why we need it and where we want it. We should do the same thing here. So I think those are two very valid points that you raised.
I have another one and then I'm just gonna let everything else go and it's most of it's coming up. I live on a cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac is residential. It's zoned residential. All of a sudden, I've got 2 STRs on my cul-de-sac that have business licenses, are conducting a business, but they're in a R1 area. So how does that happen? I mean, is that a business? So should it be something special, a commercial too or something? I don't know. I'm serious. If you're running a business out of your house and it's interfering, it's.
Well, that's why we're here tonight.
Okay, so you don't.
I mean, that's what I've been articulating, that will be the central issue of this permit for as long as we're planners is.
Yeah.
Is it an investment property? Is it somebody's residence? How do we respect the neighborhood?
And does it change?
Right. And so what Marissa has brought up is other cities do have a 55-foot exclusion zone that's currently not in our ordinance. If the commission wants to recommend that, so you don't have an over concentration in one neighborhood, that is a recommendation the commission can make to the council.
Is 55 feet enough?
100 feet, whatever.
Yes.
That seems to be the
my
magic.
neighbor Is 55.
That seems to be the number from PG and was it Seaside?
Yeah.
It makes a
Yeah.
55-foot clear space, puts a.
So
puts at
if that is a
puts a lot of-
recommendation,
Puts a
between
house,
us.
it puts a lot between each one.
Yeah.
that is a recommendation the commission can carry forward to council. So,
Chair, you may have everything back
Okay.
now.
We've gone through everybody. Thank you. I'll give my comments and I think we'll just go through the slides. I mean, I think we can go through the slides pretty quick. We just go one by one through it. I think I've got an idea of how to do this next part. What I will say is STRs are and 180 days. I just find it, I find it so arbitrary. I know why we get it. I know where it comes from. I have seen it in so many different places over the last 4 years. And every time I come back to it, I'm like, okay, it's 180. And then, oh my gosh, it's 181 days. And they're in violation. What changed? Nothing changed. It's just 181 days versus 180. And we are ultimately, all of this is investment. At the end of the day, an STR is an investment. It is a business that is being done, and they're investing in themselves from a property perspective of what they're trying to do. And the reasons on why they're doing it can be 100 different reasons that are doing it. I think the ones that we think about most are a little bit extra pocket money, or they're just trying to survive and they're just trying to stay with it. I mean, those are maybe two of the biggest ones that come up the most, but there are lots of different reasons why people would do this. So the 180 days, and it goes back to how did that ADU get built, or how did that second property get built and allows it? And do they have to do this? And why does he have to move out of his property for 6 months just so he can? And it's very capricious on how we got to this. And I get it, and I've seen it, and I've read enough about this over the years, but I'm not sure I agree with it. That we have a problem. Now, I think, and then the other challenge that I have that we haven't really discussed, which is in here, is the concurrency. And I think my question coming back on concurrent rentals is if you have a 3-bedroom STR, and you have 2 different rentals, and one takes 1 bedroom, one takes 2 bedrooms. And that I'm assuming that would be the definition of concurrent here that we're applying. And again, why do I care? Why am I making a big deal about concurrency on this? If I have a problem and there's a compliance issue, whether it's with bedroom 1 or bedroom 2, and whether they're 2 different contracts or 1 contract, I'm still having a problem that needs to be rectified. I don't know if necessarily having a concurrency issue is increasing the risk to the neighborhood or the community or anything else. If we're limiting vehicles and therefore people to the number of bedrooms, and we don't change that, then I'm not sure the concurrency that we add on top of it makes a difference. I think, again, we're just restricting it. And I'm not sure I understand the theoretical reason why we would say, you can only have 1 contract at a time from a concurrency. Or am I just missing the definition of concurrent here?
I just want to take a step back. So the commission seemed very supportive of the general concept that this is a lot of work for staff to do. And I think the idea was that you have 1 property, you get 1 permit, you can divvy it up among 5 bedrooms or 1 bedroom or the whole house. It's a lot easier from enforcement purposes just to say, hey, we saw on Airbnb, you have 6 different rentals on Saturday and you had 15 cars there and you blew up the neighborhood. That's really what we're trying to avoid. We actually have good STR permit folks in the crowd who are following the rules. We want to encourage that. And so people following the rules, not blowing up the neighborhoods, doing this in a way that is fair and equitable, that has clear guidelines. And I mean, that's really what we're trying to get to.
I'm not
So-
saying, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying I want to I just want to
So-
understand. And our conversation last time, Guido, when it was very kind of family circle-ish cartoon where, and if anybody remembers Family Circle, it was kind of like the kid is walking home and it's this, he's walking literally from here to the door, but he ends up walking a mile down the road and around and the path is, and it was because at the time we were presented with a lot of things and there was a lot of information overload that this is clarified tonight. So, and I think it's much more structured and I think we've had, it's not really been a big conversation piece, but I think there's been a lot of good discussion on topics that I think are more tuned to specifically what our real questions are, where I think last time we ended up off a little bit and we ended up on some tangents last time. I was asking
And-
about the concurrent.
And my goal is that I really would like at the end of this study session for each of these items, if it's okay with the commission and chair, if we're going to go slide by slide, I really need, on a study session, you can't take a formal vote, but I would really like an informal kind of straw poll for each of these. If
That's what I
does
would
the
like.
commission support the 180 days or not? If the answer is no, then we will take that out of the ordinance, because I really want to come back in February with, this is the final ordinance that the commission supports. And
And
let's
that's what-
drive on. And then for all of this other stuff that's been brought tonight, I'm going to be asking the commission, do you support this or not? Straw poll, not a direct official vote, because we need to draft an ordinance and get this to council.
It's only 7:28. We started early. You fed us. Maybe you shouldn't have fed us and we'd be more hungry to be out of here.
So I do ask the commission politely for the 180 days, a straw poll. Does the commission support that? Yes or no? I just need to know.
We're doing yes?
I mean, however the chair wants to do it and the vice
No, I'm
chair.
going to let you, because now you're like, how would you like us to do the straw poll? Seth, how would you like us to do the straw poll?
That's up to you, Chair. But
What can we do and or more specifically, what can't we do? Could we do a raise your hand type of thing?
yeah, just because we're on Zoom, and we're supposed to be audible and visible, I would have someone, maybe Guido or someone on the staff side of things, just kind of call the vote.
And we can do a vote by just down the line.
Yeah,
That
and
would be
again,
okay.
this is simply a straw poll to get the commission's position.
A direction,
Now,
a directional poll.
it's not a recommendation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Is that okay with you, Guido?
But you're the chair. You're running the
I'm
meeting.
asking
So
you.
I'm just trying to get guidance. So when we come back, we can give you a clear ordinance that you guys all support.
All right, so once. All right. So on the 180 days for item 1 on primary residence, we
I
find
have a
keeping it the way it's
question
written.
on that. Does
Okay.
180 days limit or an option to even go beyond 180 days? So the question has to be clear.
Does the commission support limiting the rental of STRs on properties for 180 days or less?
So if someone wants to support that, okay, let's go beyond 180 days.
Then the answer would
Is
be
that an
no.
option?
And the answer would be
You don't.
no.
The answer would be no. And then there would be, will suggest that there'll be a follow-up question to that if there are no's. And I'll take care of it. All right, so the straw poll question is, do we want to limit STRs to a maximum of 180 days? So 180 days or less, yes or no? Start all right, Commissioner Barron. Do this. Okay, Commissioner Rana,
No.
Commissioner Walton,
Yes.
Commissioner St. John,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang.
Yes, we have a sunset review clause. For 3 years.
That would be no. Okay, so, and Commissioner Jacobson.
No.
All right, so right now we have 4 that say no. Commissioner Jacob, what is the reason for no?
What is the reason for no?
Yes.
I don't think we should limit it to an arbitrary
Number.
number, and
Okay,
I think, you
that's
know,
good. That works.
done.
You have a sunset, you want because of sunset? Commissioner Rana, why did you say no?
I say it is demand based. If the demand is there and it is more than 180 days,
Okay,
it should be permitted.
and Commissioner Barron?
The same as,
Okay.
Commissioner.
So, and mine is, I agree, I'll concur with the other three right there. So my answer is no. So you have 5 no's
Okay,
on the main straw poll.
so we will
Of
take that
the,
up.
of the subset to that to take back. 4 of the 5 who said no are suggesting that it should be demand-based without without a number in mind, but that it's demand-based. And 1 is fine with the 180 days, but would like a sunset clause to have it re-reviewed after a certain period of time. Next.
All right, sounds good. Requiring more identification so we can make sure people are legit living on the properties.
So I have one question on that one. I'm just curious now. Somebody buys property here and they're going to be here for 3 or 4 years and they want to have this, but they're military. And they have formal legal residence to maintain a license in the state of Tennessee. Are they allowed to have an STR? According to this, the way we're rewriting it, the answer is no.
Yeah, we can have some staff discretion on that particular. I think the gist of this is for the
I just wanted
regular.
to make sure that, again, so I raised that issue because there's situations, so it's just.
Yeah, we can address that on a case by case, but for the main part of this is, does the commission support staff asking for more identification?
This is a regulatory change that's going to be written into our code. And so once it's there, it's there. So how do you, I'm sorry, I'm just curious, how do you do staff discretion into our code?
That's a scenario that we have, I don't believe
We
we've
don't
come
have it.
across. We don't have that scenario that you're presenting, Chair, to the staff. That has not happened in the 4 years I've been here, so.
All right. So we'll start with Mr. Jacobson. Are you fine with the increased identification requirements?
Yes.
Commissioner Chang?
Yes.
Commissioner St. John?
Yes.
Commissioner Walton? Commissioner Rama?
Identification, I think that's not a big issue, and that will encumber the work of the staff itself. I talked about the very purpose of it, the intent, and also the transparency. If that is taken care of, identification is not a big issue. So my vote is no.
Okay, that's fine.
Commissioner Barron?
Yes.
And I am no. So that would be, I don't know, what is that, 5-2?
Right.
So I am no because I love that the exception hasn't been raised before. That's a little disingenuous, I think, personally. Just because we haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't come up. So I don't think there is something in our city code that says we just have staff discretion. So it's fine if we do, and it's fine if that's there. That's my reasoning, but it's still no, it doesn't change everything. It's still going to be 5-2, but that's my reasoning.
That's fine.
Just clarification, the purpose of this enhanced forms of identification, the purpose of digging in to the ID is to solidify that the licensee is the property owner and the resident homestead exemption person.
That's correct.
Right. And that they live here.
Right. So if that's what our requirement is, that is the basis, the fundamental eligibility for a license, then I see no reason not to show the identification that you are that. You know, people were changing their identification.
So,
So this prevents them from doing.
so what I hear, let me give an example. To cut to the chase. I am literally dealing with this week. In Minnesota on a different issue, but it is in the news, like all over the news, and it's an attestation issue because that's what this is about. And the fact is that fake documentation or an attestation of eligibility for a program, whatever this is a massive, easy fraud program. And whether this is fraud or it's waste or abuse, in this case, it would be more abuse than it would be fraud. You know, I guess by definition, it would be fraud. It is something that's easily out there. And so that's from that perspective, having the additional requirements, having 2 forms of ID is nice. Having 3 or 4, what ends up happening is having more ends up reducing the risk that we have violations. And it's a one-time thing for registration. I mean, it's literally what we're dealing with right now at Medicaid.
This one should be more than 2.
We're saying that right now it's the 2 forms. We're saying now it's going to be more than it, right?
So 5, correct me, Chair, if I'm wrong, but 5 voted to support the staff directive of
Right.
asking for more identification so that we can make sure, as Commissioner St. John said, that people legit live in the property.
Right.
Okay.
He was just asking for clarification of what it was. And I support it, and I was explaining, but why? Why is it a problem?
It is still submittal of 2 forms of identification, which could include any of the following 10.
Right.
Pick 2 out of 10.
And you're suggesting it should be more. So.
No, I'm fine with it the way it is. It's fine.
Okay, so this was
Giving-
requested. Go, okay.
Isn't that the discretion of the staff? That's another thing is, I know Brian had rejected somebody before, right, because of compliance. And I'm not sure whether, Seth, would you agree that there's no dual processing here? That means the staff could decide. And shouldn't we have a dual process if anything is, didn't agree on?
I'm not sure I could hear the question. Could you speak again into the mic, Commissioner?
I'm sorry. Because it is, the whole renewal is depend on the staff, right? So the staff could reject it. But what happens if the applicant disagree with it? Would that be a due process?
Seth, I can answer that. Seth, I can answer
Yeah,
that.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so every decision that the staff makes can be appealed to the planning commission and eventually to the city council. And if they want to Superior Court. So that is their due process rights.
Okay.
Is that people have the ability to kick up the permit to a higher level through an appeal process.
So it's not
Yeah.
final. Is not.
Right. If every decision we make at staff can be potentially appealed.
Okay, thank you for clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next.
Advertising. So we currently don't have a really strong enforcement tool. If somebody has an unpermitted STR, unless Marissa goes through a very exhaustive fact finding to prove that they actually are renting it out. We want to just make it abundantly clear, if you don't have an STR permit and you're renting it out as an STR, that is an automatic violation. And so that's the request. Does the commission support that or not? To make it easier for staff to ensure people are following the ordinance.
I have a question on that.
Go on.
And I'm not quite sure where it is in here, but it's a hosting platform should not complete any booking transaction for any residential property or unit unless it is listed on the city's registry. That particular one. What are the consequences if Marissa finds a property listed from the city that doesn't have the requirements, what are the consequences to that platform?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Marissa, but SB 346 gives us the ability to issue administrative fines and to go after the platform now that we have that under state law.
Sitting in SB what?
SB 346, it's a new state law that gives us more authority to go after the platforms.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Barron. Commissioner Rana,
Yes.
Vice Chair Walton,
Yes.
Commissioner St. John.
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson,
Yes.
and I say yes, 7-0. Next.
parking requirements, this has actually been an issue and Marissa can give more substantive details, but should we limit the number of people with vehicles and whatnot? And so that's the direction we're asking for from the commission, and that's under subsection 9. It shows the number of bedrooms and the number of guests. That would be the max.
Chair, may I ask a question?
Sure.
I have 12 guests, have 4 bedrooms. I've allowed 4 cars, so I parked the other 8 around the corner.
Let me see what the staff recommended for the parking lot. So under subsection 12, it says each designated on-site parking space shall be made available for use of the guests of the due site. Each parking shall specify a maximum number to be parked in the maximum transit use shall not exceed. Each designated on-site parking shall be made available. So the way it's written now, and Marissa can correct me, it would be, you would have a maximum of 12 cars for the 5 bedrooms, but that would be all on site of the property because you wrote on site.
Right, so if it's, we only have a few that have 5 bedrooms, but it would be 5 vehicles, right, is the max.
1 per bedroom.
1 per bedroom.
So it says number of guests allowed 12.
Per bedroom.
Okay, is that correct?
Which shall,
Okay.
which shall not exceed the number of bedrooms included in the contract or tenancy.
Right, so for a 5 bedroom, which I think we may have 1 house, the rest are 4 or 3, it would be 3 vehicles, et cetera. The intent of that update is so that the host adds that to their listing and their rules, right? Are we gonna be able to catch every person that has 4 cars for a 3-bedroom house? No, but at least it will be articulated and it will be a warning to the tenants or the renters, the customer that's gonna be there to be mindful, right? If they're gonna have 6 girlfriends or, 6 gentlemen, not to bring 6 cars because there's not gonna be enough parking. And carpool.
So
What happened to condo units? Every condo unit have 1 assigned space for parking, and then they rent it out to a group of 3. And you have 3 cars, where the other 2 cars going to park?
In the free guest parking, it's not just condos, it's apartment complexes, it's,
Single family homes.
well, yeah, some.
So I'm sorry. So if you have a 5 bedroom, just so I understand, I'm sorry, you get 12 total guests, right? Got it. Okay, just trying to understand.
So
Well, probably the only enforcement on this is if somebody complains. So-
How about HOA, would they come in?
There would be a complaint.
Well, they would get a complaint from the HOA, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and then I know I just heard we have just 1 5-bedroom home in Marina. Is that what you're saying, or just on the list?
1 that has a permit.
Okay, so good. So here's my question, because it says 5+ bedrooms. So if I have 6 bedrooms, am I still restricted to 12 guests?
14.
So same if I have 8 bedrooms, the restriction is still 12 guests.
18.
Wait,
The
no,
number
I want them
is-
to say. I want them to be clear on it.
So that ordinance is already there. We did not modify the chart on the max occupancy. That was there initially from 2019. So yes,
No, I'm just trying to understand.
the max is 12.
He's saying if I have 8 bedrooms, I get 18 guests. And you're saying 5 plus
It's 13,
is
so you
limited to
12.
12.
Correct.
That's the cap.
Okay.
You can have no more than
13.
12 guests,
Correct.
no matter how many bedrooms.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, you're right.
Thank you, because I don't touch the ordinance, so thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
So actually, I apologize, Chair. I don't think we're actually asking for clarification on that. Is that correct? Or is the subsection 12 okay. So sorry about that.
On parking.
Okay. Excellent.
So the only question I have on it and is is somewhat philosophical, and I'm just curious
They were supportive.
because I really have run into this, is if you have a studio or one bedroom, and it's usually not a studio, but it's a one bedroom. If you have a one bedroom and you have family comes up and they come in two vehicles because they've got their kids, but they come at different times, you've got a one bedroom that only has one car. Now, every other one makes sense when you start getting above two and more. Studio probably is never going to be more than one, but I think the one is, and I don't know, maybe it's just you let it go and then they can just figure it out on their own and they're just restricted.
Yeah.
But there's a part of me that I've seen this multiple times in different cities where at the one bedroom level, you have a family that has actually come up in split vehicles and they have to have two vehicles. And most driveways usually can handle that. Or street parking. Just me? You guys going to say yes? Like, oh,
I
don't care. Okay.
And if we kind of restrict our own resident, or we're asking our own residents to be a little more restrictive with how many cars they're parking around their housing. And I think there's some places where we were considering if you're so close to a bus stop, the restriction or so if we're already having that conversation for our residents and trying to.
It's okay. I'm okay with it. It's fine because they can just park on the street. Like you said, they just walk around the corner.
So Chair Woodson, there were also a lot of really good ideas brought up. If you allow me, can I go through the ones and then also get some additional clarification from the commission?
Okay, they fit right here in the discussion or?
They do.
Okay.
So there was some comments tonight about should staff or the commission put in its motion when we come back about should we limit BMR? Should that be looked at? Is that something you want us to research or just bring that up in our staff report when we go to council? We're going to come back in February, but I just wanted to get some clarification about it sounded like from Commissioner Walton, there was a equity issue about limiting SDRs not to be in the affordable units. Is that something you want us to?
I would like to have it looked at because I think that.
Okay.
Does the rest of the group, I know there's two of us who say that. Yes, three.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. I'm
It's four.
just trying to go through this so that when we come back, we can get you guys a proper ordinance. There's been a lot of discussion tonight about a sunset clause, reviewing of the ordinance in 2 years. What is the will of the commission? I can add it to my work plan as a department head, or we could write it into the ordinance that you guys are recommending that it be reviewed in it was either 2 or 3 years. So what is the will of the commission?
I mean, I'm fine as a staff action. If it's built into your operational plan. I don't think it needs to be into the law that it needs to be rewritten. I think relooking it.
Okay, but the rest of the commissioners,
That would be mine is I'm fine with operations versus law. What about anybody else? So.
Yeah, sunset clause and periodic revision is a good suggestion. I say yes.
so I
1,
need
2
to
for
hear-
sunset.
I say yes, revisit every 3 years. I think choose like right around the corner, you be doing it every time you turn around. But
I think we need a legal definition of sunset clause.
So the question before the commission is, do you want to recommend to the council that in 3 years, you'll go through the same exercise again? Or are you recommending the staff, specifically me as a department head, that we just build it into our work plan and that will just automatically bring it back, but it's not codified officially in the code forever and ever and ever? That's the ask right now.
It's been 6 years, right?
Yes.
So it wasn't built in until there was some noise.
Right.
Whereas if we said we said every 2 years or every 3 years, this will be reviewed, then it's not reviewed for noise. It's reviewed by prescription.
Right.
So what you're saying is to let it ride until there's enough noise before the staff say, "Woo."
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Either I, as a department head, put it on my to-do list and we come back in 2 years, or you put it officially into the city code that says in 3 years, thou shall review the ordinance. It's really your recommendation that you guys talked about tonight. So I need to hear from the commission. What's the recommendation?
So operations or law?
Codify it.
Should it be just a task list in his annual plan? Oh, okay.
So what happens, what happens when there is no Guido that we understand is going to do what he says? 'Cause Guido's, yes, everything to this city. Without Guido, I don't know where the city would be right now. So when it's not on Guido's task list because it's not Guido anymore and we don't have it codified, what happens?
That's a good point.
Will it get, but that's the kind of stuff I feel like slips through the cracks. And so for me, I think we're on me. I'm for codify it at 3 years.
Okay. Yes, what? So yes, at some duration. Yeah, not you, I'm not next.
Codify it 3 years, not 2.
That's what I think.
Codify it 3 years.
They would keep coming
Yeah.
back every 2 seconds.
Yeah, and the thing that I'm a little concerned about that is what happens if that slips through the cracks?
Well, no, if it's in the code, I mean, it's,
Oh, just like all this stuff that was in the general plan got looked at every year.
well, I mean, it's in the zoning code.
Just-
So, I mean, if there's
But you're here
Two-
now, so none of that
Yeah.
stuff slips through.
so
That's got it.
really up to the commission. So,
Right, I'm a little concerned about the term sunset because my past life, the sunset meant that it ended. Yes.
We
And
just-
so
we
we're
just-
saying that it ends at the end, and ends is end.
Just make it review.
So, and let me come back.
Make it review.
No, well, sunset is not the same as a review.
No, so we're not saying so.
So I think everybody's asking for review,
I will agree with review.
or do you want the policy to go away at 100?
Then review.
The sunset means that it's a dead, that's the end of this
Correct.
law.
Because then everybody will have.
Then no one has a license,
Reintroduce
or
again,
anyone
yeah.
can have a license.
But if we put it up for review and we bring it back intact and then add to or take away from it, as opposed to sunsetting it,
Oh, something I'm honestly, I'm willing to keep it at sunset at 3 years. If only because it forces an issue on the council, just because I want to watch them hit a deadline.
okay. So it sounds like come back in 3 years, maybe do an update. This is how we're doing. These are the issues we're facing. Okay, sounds good. Roger that. Thank you. All right. One thing we haven't gotten consensus on is does the commission want to recommend some type of 55-foot exclusion zone? Yes or no? And this actually is a major thing to ask.
That was the driver that started this whole thing, was two houses sitting across the street from each other with a potential maintenance person going between the two houses seen by somebody on the council and wondering if they were there. I mean, that was the driver that started the conversation.
And to Commissioner Jacobson and Chang's, this could be some due process because this has not been part of the ordinance. If the commission recommends this and the council adopts this, we would have to do a little bit of outreach between now and when the permit expires July 1st to tell those people, hey, by the way, they added this rule and now you're 55 feet from the guy down the street and we'd have to work with legal. So, but we just need to know what the commission is will on this and do need to hear from you.
So I think the question is, and I don't know if it's 55, so I'm going to leave it as a number, is yes, there should be a buffer. And yes, that part B of that, yes, is that buffer should be the equivalent of whatever is one property separation between it, because that's what 55 feet is designed around.
How wide is the street?
36 to 40 feet.
Sidewalk and some other.
Potentially 3 to 6 feet, 3 to 6,
Little that adds to
3 to 6 feet with curb line. So that's how you get to 55, by the way. It gets across the street.
We
So-
should also say only one per block.
All right, so, all right, hold on.
How do you define a block?
Just, all right, so here's what I want to,
Yeah, some of them have 100 houses.
I truly wish I could like whistle like this. I can't do it at all, but I want to right now. Okay. Wow, that's as wild as this commission's ever gotten in 3 years. It's why we live in a small everybody says we're growing too much. It's like, have you ever been to the planning commission meetings? Because it's not contentious at all. All right. So here's where we stand right now. It is the intention of the 55-foot radius is to create a separation of at least one away. So create every other property is what they're trying to do. So some type of patchwork on a block. That's why the 55 feet exists. So I don't necessarily need to set it at 55 feet because our streets, 55 feet means nothing in our streets because you go up some of our streets like we have streets that are 50 feet wide in a residential area for who knows what reason on the north side of town. So I think what I would like to say is yes, with the caveat that we would have to determine what the distance is to create an offset, because that's what they're trying to do is they're trying to create a patchwork so that houses aren't directly across or directly next to. So they're trying to create some type of every other type of patchwork built on a street. That's why that's there. So the first part of this is, yes, you would think that there should be something that should be looked at that from a staff action to add to the requirements and that there should be a distance to be determined by the city during that study.
Is it a distance or could just be no adjoining properties?
It could just be no, however you want it to, it could be, that could be the definition. So. It could be.
So, because you, Commissioner, had brought up earlier that evening, we don't want 3 or 4 in the same cul-de-sac, right? So whatever the commission's recommendation is.
Remember that adjoining property means 2 houses back to back.
Right.
On the other side. So adjoining is a 360 thing. I'm fine. So yes. I guess, all right, so first one is, do we want to just make it non-adjoining? Or do we want to leave it up to the staff to decide what that is, given that we've given them staff guidance of non-adjoining to some distance?
Right.
Does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay. So, so before the straw poll would be yes, with the staff able to create a definition of adjoining to distance and whatever makes the most sense.
Do we have consent? Okay.
It's 7. We all
Okay,
agree.
so when we come back in February, we will have a GIS map that shows a 55-foot buffer from all of the existing ones. And then we'll have a GIS map that shows if we do adjoining, and then the commission can decide. Is that a fair?
Yes.
Okay.
I think some of
Alright.
the context behind this that I would add to it is that, and the reason I'm supporting yes is that I do believe on the quality of life issue on the streets. Knowing that at the same time, I am physically setting a negative consequence on the other people who weren't first in to
Right.
the process. And for whatever reason, and that's just the way it's going to be. Because we have to, this one is about a quality of life issue for the community.
Okay. We had a lot of discussion tonight with the commission about should we follow Seaside and Sand Cities and about having a cap, yes or no, and staff comes up with some number or not. I don't personally think it's been an issue here, and Marissa can disagree.
What is our
Here,
what is
has
our
it-
growth
is it-
numbers?
Actually, what is your opinion, Marissa, about the cap for the commission that you can share with them?
How fast are we growing?
Like that revenue.
What, my own? Yeah.
I do too.
Well, I can just state that probably 10 properties were purchased recently within the last few months, and a permit was obtained or applied for.
So we got from 20
so-
33% in a year.
You know, we are getting calls from agents asking about our STR ordinance, asking if those are allowed, right? So the intent of those purchases are strictly for an STR.
Strictly for for the entire house to be an STR?
Yes.
And you're not selling so what happens then? They don't get the permit and then they sell the house?
No, so,
They leave because they
No, peop-
purchased it specifically to
Yeah.
set up the STR?
correct.
You don't give them that? You do?
We
No,
do.
I think the scenario, correct me if I'm wrong, that Marissa's painting is, what is your STR policy? Do you have a cap? The answer is no. Okay, then I'm going to buy the property and make it into an SDR. Is that the scenario that,
Correct.
okay,
Like an investment then? They
like
can't-
an investment?
But
Which
they,
makes it an investment.
but they
property.
can't, well, no, but they can't make it a true investment property because that's part A. Part B is we've required them to live on site. We've made it a hosted versus non-hosted environment.
Right.
But I also thought earlier we asked, rather than trying to figure this cap out, we have a business
Mhm.
study that says we think this is the right number for these reasons.
Okay, so that can be the direction from the commission tonight is, but I guess the question is, do we do a cap because we want do we do the business study because we want the cap? Or do you just want us to come back with some more information about what a reasonable number would be based on some analysis? I guess that's the question for the commission.
I think it should be capped. Or Marissa's going to continue to
All right. I
receive
guess,
those phone calls.
So mine is, yes, I agree. No, I'm not sure this is the time to do it. And, but maybe doesn't matter. Maybe that's just, you put a cap into it. And my thought on it is, even if we grew at 33% next year, and 33% the year after, 33% the year after, we would still only be at about 72 units. And if we were looking at a cap of 100, between 100 and 150, let's say, for the city, in 3 years, we're still going to barely be at half of what that cap would be. And so do I think that a cap long-term is necessary? Yes. Do I think short-term, if going back to Commissioner Walton's kind of the sidebar she and I have been having, kind of just thinking about this process of, this is for us as a city, is also about revenue. That if the question comes into the city, hey, do you have an STR rig? Yes. Do you have a cap? No. Oh, well, I'd like to buy this. Okay, but you have to live here. It's hosted versus non-hosted. Okay, I still want to do this. From a sales perspective and perception, if we answer no right to the first question, they're like, okay, let me go to another city. And so are we hurting ourselves on something by setting an artificial cap right now that we know we're not going to reach in the next 3 years? Knowing that we just recommended that we're going to review this entire thing in 3 years.
I didn't hear anybody recommending an artificial cap.
So what's the point of setting a cap? No, they're not able to achieve it.
so we don't set a cap right now, but then 3 years from now, we can look at putting a cap in place. That's my point, is we could
That's
put,
okay.
we put a cap now, but why?
No.
We're not gonna get it. We don't know what it is. We're not worried about it. But 3 years from now, we can relook at it because we can relook at it.
Yes.
Okay, so no cap, but study it in 3 years. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes,
Okay, I'm just trying to understand.
yes.
Okay.
I would like to say that CAP provides leverage to the staff when they are processing the applications. So if there is even an arbitrary number would help and provide help to the staff, because the city is growing and this demand, you never know, because
But I don't-
people find it attractive and they like to.
But I don't know if it is, and how much is it growing? Because right now, we have neither, I believe, correct, neither Sea Haven or the Dunes are allowing STRs at all.
Yeah, but
Right.
that was the
And
present.
that's our primary, I mean, that is our growth. I mean, that's our growth areas until we hit Marina Heights, right? So we've got, and we haven't started building there. They're not starting building there for another year or so. So I'm not sure, even though, yes, we have a lot of growth going on, the places where most of the majority of the growth is going is areas that don't allow it by HOA.
But they are not allowing it now, but
It's not gonna
is it,
change.
is it something which is going to stay? It's
Yeah.
sometimes they change, but okay, we allow, so.
That won't change. That's in the charters. It's harder to change the Constitution than to change an HOA.
But it's the people who live, own property. If
Pardon?
they want to make the change.
No, they,
People buying, people buy them because they know it's not. gonna-
yeah, the HOAs is part of the deed. And you
So
can't change that.
no, you can, because you have an HOA board. The board can propose every year, usually once a year, to make a set of changes to bylaws. And to your point, it is extremely difficult to override and get those changes.
It would take 5 years to change
I
the.
understand your point, but his is that you can-
Your contracts and covenants, CC and Rs are not easy to change, and the HOA is embedded in the CC and Rs.
I'm actually more concerned that the state would come out in the next year and make a change than I am with the CCR issue. And the main reason, to your point, is that CCNRs literally can be nullified by the state right now by homeless, and we've seen that done on multiple ABs. So that's actually a bigger concern to me, is that the state would come in. But I think in that respect, if something like that ever happened,
But it was
Then-
counterproductive to what the state's trying to
right,
do.
then what the state would be doing is
They're trying to get.
and it would come back to us anyway on the commission if that ever happened. So it's kind of okay, yes, it could. So, I mean, to your point, I think that it's valid, but most of our growth are in the areas that right now are restricted, and that would take 2 to 3 years to even try to make a change if they started trying to pursue it right now.
Yeah, so in any case, putting a cap does not harm. Leaving it open at least can come to a possibility that the number grows and it becomes inconvenient. The whole character of the city changes. So you put a cap, staff has this thing, they can deny that, okay, we have this number, we cannot give it
Okay.
more than that. So we have this thing in place. We can review it after 3 years as to how things are working. But having no cap at all is a concern to me.
Okay, so let's go down.
Would you rather have no kill it nano and have no STRs? Then we have nothing to worry about.
Wait, I don't.
That's not what
understand.
he's saying.
Now that in 3 years, we don't have to worry about it.
It's being extreme. That's,
We
I
only
mean,
have 31 right now that would be disappointing.
that's 30, it's 33, and that's not realistic. So, all right. So right now, where we're at is,
Why is it not?
because we're not going to get rid of STRs. That's why it's not realistic. That's an example. That's a use case that's not going to happen.
Then why don't we set the cap at 50? And then there's a few more lucky people.
I mean, I still would like to have the business, not proposal, business, what was the word you used?
It's actually a business plan.
A business plan, yeah, or not, well, but where the, yes, use case, that's the word I'm looking for. So the city has an understanding, like, with respect to our budget. What do we need to accomplish? Where's the money? If we had this many people with this many STRs on the market at 180 days and they booked all of them solid, and it's beautiful and perfect all across the city, how much revenue would we get from that and bring that number back? Kind of like some, and how would we use like those kind of items? I would be very interested.
That's why I worked out 150 units.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
TST
So-
units would generate
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
That's,
So,
thank you.
all right. So it's going to be a two-part. Got it, I think. So the first part of this is how many people would like, yes or no, would like to see a cap put in place right now? Yes, if you would like a cap, or no, if you would not like a cap. Fine, Commissioner Walton.
Yes,
Yes,
Cap.
yes, a cap.
yes, a
Okay,
cap.
I'll come back to that. Commissioner Chang.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner St. John,
No.
Commissioner Jacobson,
No.
Commissioner Rana,
Yes, Cal.
and then me, and no, I'm gonna go next. So yes, so I'm gonna say yes, cap. And then the second part of the question, now Commissioner Barron, you get to be last. No,
So
okay,
no caps.
no cap for her.
Okay, but.
No, I'm not now. The second part of the question
Yeah, yeah.
is for those who said yes on a cap. Do you have a specific cap or do you want a business study? Mine is don't look at me like that.
Well, then I have to change my first vote. Well, because I thought you wanted to set a cap right away. Now you've said,
I literally said
after the
cap. I
business.
said cap or no cap.
Yeah, when? Now? I mean,
Yes.
yes, I want a cap.
Okay,
I
we're gonna
changed
start
my,
over
I
again.
had changed my
We're gonna
vote.
start over. Oh my gosh.
It's too late.
It is not, nobody, no.
To the chair, just by way of reference, if we have 35 permit holders, if they have 180 days, which you guys have eliminated, but just by reference, and each day is $250, that's $1.5 million.
Right.
And we get, I think it's at 14% of that, so times 0.14,
About 200,000.
about $200,000. Yeah,
It covers a third.
and
of
I think
our-
Marissa
third-
shared in her presentation, we get 190,
All right. so
193,000.
I'm gonna go back. With that in mind, yes, is that we want to recommend a cap be put in place now. Yes or no?
No. No.
Cap,
No.
no.
No study.
No
No
study,
study.
no study, yes or no for a cap?
No,
Nobody wants a cap.
not without a study.
Without the study, no. They have to be a study.
There has to be a study.
Okay, so just to help out the commission, why don't we do this? Because this could be actually a.
Study, how many people want to
Yeah,
study?
yeah, why don't we do this why don't we do this? Why don't we, when we come back in February, we will suss out the numbers about,
It's gonna be, the answer is it's evenly split.
right?
Just put it right down, put it
Yeah.
evenly split. I'm just down the middle
That's
on
fine.
it, and that we want a study on what a cap would look like.
Yes.
Sounds good. I appreciate the commission. I know I was a little pushy right now trying to get some direction, but we really, the intent is I'm trying to bring you guys back an ordinance that you guys can support. So thank you for
Is that
engaging me in this
the
exercise.
last one, the last section?
Is there other stuff that the staff needs direction on, Brian and Marissa?
There was, I think, a couple slides on enforcement and changes, right? to
Right,
that
I
page.
thought
Is that
there
what you're
were-
referencing?
Yeah.
So they enforce, what section?
Yeah, when you can like you can literally cut in their presentation, you like, I know. like,
What section, Marissa?
I think enforcement should include.
We were on,
Loss of license.
we were on 5. We haven't gotten to 6 yet.
Yeah.
One more back, go to 6, Roman numeral, no, one more.
There we go.
Five,
that's-
I'm sorry.
This is where we're at.
Okay. So the ask here, Marissa, is what, just so I understand? You're just asking for a site plan, that seems reasonable. And you're requiring a rental lease agreement or house rules, which will include number of guests allowed and vehicles. I mean, that all seems, unless the commission disagrees, that seems very reasonable, right?
I don't have any problems with this.
Okay.
Does anybody have a problem with this? As written?
Okay, so general consensus on that.
There is one issue with the extra 2 guests. I'm not really clear of that. I know that when it comes to rental, long-term rental, it's usually 2 people per bedroom and 1 extra, not 2. So this just surprised me. I'm not sure why it's 2 and not 1. But if it's absolutely, you see it's working, then I'm not going to argue against it.
Yeah, that was existing before my time. It was already there. But yeah, that's typical for like the other
My-
jurisdictions as well.
And my only one on 6A is that I think it should actually, the wording on 6A should match the table. Because it's not to exceed 12.
Oh,
Section.
to add, not to exceed 12. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Not to exceed 12.
Thank you.
Because that brings it in compliance with the
Mhm.
overall table of residents.
Yes.
Roger that. Sounds good.
Okay, now let's go to the next.
Okay.
Wow.
It was enacted.
We've already looked at below, so
Yeah, we talked about senior housing.
we said we want to look at senior housing and below market rate.
Yeah, we'll bring back some,
Okay.
why that stuff is in there.
That's fine.
More, nothing in there.
Okay,
that-
now, no, we want to go through 2 because
Oh, we gotta pick up.
two is if I understand it right now, under current, the way it's been done, an owner may not have short-term rental. So if a owner is a family and they have a husband and a wife, and then they put the husband has it in one and the wife has it in another. Again, I think it's primary residence, but we're not defining family. We're not defining legal mortgage rates and what's on the title of a home. We are literally just saying that. So I'm not sure. I guess mine's from a enforcement perspective. I mean, the easy enforcement perspective is to go to the county property records and say, who is the person on the property record? Is it Glenn and Karen Woodson? Is it Glenn Woodson or is it Karen Woodson? Those would be the 3 options that are available.
Trust.
Or, well, yeah,
If family trust or
Right.
LLC.
but ultimately it's still going to go back to it.
Well, yeah, you
But
have to dig.
But you'd have to dig. And so I think that's my challenge with 2 is that I don't disagree with the intent of what we're trying to accomplish with 2. I'm just trying to understand the enforcement side of it because I think it's opened up some gray areas that can be taken advantage of.
So it's already listed in section 5, B5. It's already existing. That section was added just to clarify and reiterate, because even though it's listed in B5 of the ordinance, defining, an owner means the person or persons individually, jointly, and common, or a living trust, regarding trustees. They are considered the same person, even though it's clearly listed, we still get the questions. My wife and I have a house. I'm going to buy another house down the street. Can I put that house in her name and can I put this house in my name? Right? If they both
And the
own,
intent, right now is as long if they live separately, like instead of separate bedrooms, they had separate houses. Kind of like whatever the movie was a few years ago. That I guess would be legal, but not by this. I know it's fine. Do we not have issues with that right now? Do we have of the 33 properties, do we have any that will violate 6 paragraph 2 here? If this was approved?
That's already,
They won't violate it at the moment.
Okay.
But the question has been asked, right? We did get a submittal for that
Okay.
specific example, and
So-
we did deny it.
Okay, so as long as we don't have anybody that is currently out of compliance with that when we put in place, then I'm fine with it
Yep.
as it's written. I wanted to make sure that we don't have anybody there. Not that I want to grandfather them in, but I just want to, it makes it a clean issue from us legally. Okay, the paragraph 3 is my issue of concurrency, which I guess feeling of the rest of the commission is that concurrency should not be allowed. Correct?
you get one permit for that property. That's it.
So I can't rent out the bedrooms separately.
At one time.
I think that's the intent
That's
of
the
what
way
we're
that
trying
it's
to.
written.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the way it's written. And I guess the background on that specific one is that we got a new STR permit that piecemealed the entire house to include the living room, but they had like 4 or 5 listings. And it was really difficult to manage, right? To confirm whether they were legal because initially they didn't have the permit listed, the permit number. So that's how that
But once it becomes,
section
so
was.
like that's getting it legal. Once you get legal.
One permit per property. That's our
Yeah.
goal. We're not trying to overload the neighborhoods.
Because otherwise you'd have 3 bedrooms with 3 different separate guests, unrelated, not together. Maybe they came to the same conference here together, but they would be 3 different bookings maybe.
Exactly.
Right. And that, I think that is
Yes.
overtaxing.
And then you get into the issue, well, it's a bedroom, so now I get my bedroom with 2 people and now I'm gonna get 2 people in the living room, right? It's
Oh,
going to be
okay.
hard to manage that.
And then there, and yeah, and then there.
No,
goes
it's
the
actually
neighbor.
not, well, I don't think that's, the use case is that what ends up happening is they put a lock on each bedroom and it's an Airbnb out by bedroom. And then you have access to your door and you have access to your bedroom, is what happens. I mean,
Okay.
it's not a living room issue, it's that they do that so they have a bit greater chance of getting small eaches in a bigger house. Yeah, that is a huge issue. That's a huge kind of happening up in the whole Tahoe region. So I'm used to seeing it. All right, so that's fine. I'll just leave it where it is.
One question, if, does this apply to, international student who coming here for summer vacations for short term and then they are renting a bedroom from family?
Yeah, I mean, you're renting out a bedroom
Yeah, but the
for
other-
STR.
But it's longer than 29 days.
Right, that's a.
Oh, I guess,
term.
yeah. I guess
That's
that'd be
a long term.
But it's
Yeah.
not-
No, for summer, I think.
Yeah, that's over 29 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it would be longer
It's
than.
over 29 days.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
would turn,
yeah.
it would turn into a longer term rental and usually what
Yeah,
happens, then the
longer
owner
term
makes a
rental.
decision if they're gonna give them a discount or not.
Okay.
That's the same issue that comes up with like military who move here, who could have a wait list of 21 days, or they could have a wait list of 80 days.
Right.
And so it starts as a short term and it may just convert to a long term rental.
Right.
Okay, so 3, fine. For commercial assembly weddings, yeah, we all agree with that one. And short-term rental to unoccupied minors is prohibited. I just don't see what's wrong with that. That's all. Jeez. Let my 16-year-old rent a house.
All right, next up.
All right. So I think we're fine on 6, 7. This is the new 7 is that we're required to show.
They are
Except for 1, which you're gonna go back and study. 2, 3, 4, and 5, we all agree with.
Okay,
For 6.
Got it.
right.
For 7, that's a new law, so it is what it is. So 7 would be, yes, yeah, I'm clairvoyant. 7 is gonna be the new, provide all the information and we can go after people. The
Yep.
Provider. And then I think that leaves 8. Isn't there an 8? I think. I don't know.
Wait, could we go to 7 just for a minute?
When you're saying 7, are you saying subsection?
Next slide.
Roman numeral 7.
Okay,
Next
sorry.
slide.
I thought you were referring to.
No.
No,
Okay.
I'm playing completely off the slide deck right now.
Okay, now that's not the one I'm talking about. Disregard.
Okay, go to 8.
So and Marissa can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is something I think we feel real strongly about. There's been a little bit of a card game with some of the enforcement. Well, it's the agent of the LLC. You need to go talk to him, or you need to go talk to the property manager, or you need to go talk to the real estate broker. Or if you're tied to the property and you're a problem STR, or that we're getting calls for service or whatnot, and you're tied to that permit, you're going to be held responsible for parties, loud noise, calls for service.
That's how,
This seems pretty reasonable
that's
to
how
me.
normal rentals are handled.
Yep.
So why would I do something different for short term?
What does it take to have loss of license?
Well, Brian didn't, you'd mentioned the one that they hadn't paid up their TOT tax. So,
If they don't pay their tax.
So there
Violations, but.
there was
Violation Cannot lose the license, or
well, no,
10 violations can't lose.
kind of.
It's actually defined, so it's.
Why not? If we have a bad actor, we can't.
Well, I mean, we follow our normal, that there is a little bit of discretion there from the staff. So,
and we currently have a section which allows us an STR permit may be revoked by the city due to failure to meet requirements set forth in the ordinance at any time.
what section? is that?
So technically could be one strike and you're out.
No, just give me the
That's right, but we.
C6. Okay.
Issue a citation. We first give them more.
Imagine if we did.
I think. I think if we don't enforce, if we don't have a strong enforcement, this is the reason we have the STR is because it's a profitable business model.
Seth, what's, hi, Seth.
Businesses that violate their trust lose their licenses.
Right. And Brian just pointed that out, that section C6 of the ordinance, Commissioner St. John, revocation.
Right.
An STR permit may be revoked by the city due to failure to meet the requirements. So we already have that language.
I think it's covered and Steph, just if you can clarify for me, I think because of the way it's written and because of the legal review that was done at the time when this was written, which is still valid, that it's not us having the ability to provide some subjectivity during a review or an issue so that it's not just one strike and you're out, always one strike and you're out, depending on who it is. But that deference to the commission, the staff doesn't set the city up for any liability, correct?
No, I mean, I think you're, as you know, the enforcement division has, pretty broad prosecutorial discretion, right? And it has to be administered equitably, and not, favorably for some and not for others, but Marissa knows that, and that's the purview of all enforcement divisions. Is that your question, Chair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks. I figured that was the answer. I just wanted to make sure that I hadn't lost something in the last few brain cells.
Point.
Okay.
The revocation clause need to be more specific as to what number of complaints or violations and even neighborhood complaints against an STR will lead to revocation. We need to be more specific. Leaving it open that, okay, it can be revoked, that becomes more discretionary. So that discretion will be taken out and we should be more specific.
But it's pretty, thank you, Brian, for pointing it. C6 says due to failure to meet the requirements set forth in this code and state law. I mean, that's pretty broad.
It's big.
No, it's actually better for the city that it's broad. It says
Right, it gives us the capability.
any
of any-
made due to failure to meet the requirements set forth in this code. This code is the whole municipal code. I mean, and state law. So it's actually helpful that it's purposely vague that
Right,
if you have one loud party that 100 people show up to, or you have 3 violations, that gives us the discretion to say that one awful event. Right? So,
And I do want to state that we have been focused on education, right? Educating the STR permit holders when there is a violation, giving them a warning, and then if they continue to violate, then I issue a citation, right? We have not gone the route of revoking, but we can, we can educate again and state, hey, these are the guidelines and the requirements, and if you violate the code, we will revoke your license, right, your permit. That's something.
I think the vagueness helps.
No, I understand it. The vagueness helps. It does help us, but we have not, except for the one that didn't pay TOT taxes, we have not revoked permits because they've rented out the ADU, which is, they've been aware, they signed the deed restriction and they've still rented it, and more than one person. Instead, we cited them. We did not revoke, which we could have, right? That's what I'm saying is we do have that option.
so I
Also,
think.
I think someone may have said this, but typically revocation requires, a process and a hearing and appeal opportunity and all of that.
I think that to your point, there's a point where we have to trust that the city staff are actually going to do things that are respectful of the city's regulations in the community. And so I think the way that it is written right now, it gives them, the staff, pretty significant deference to serve in the best interest of the city.
Yeah, see, my point is that it can come to some dispute sometimes, that you revoke somebody for some kind of violation. And in other case, you show some kind of a leniency and you don't. Then people start making comparisons that you punish the other person.
Well, and I think that was kind of my
So
point.
this is very specific, that number of strikes, the license goes away. That specificity defines that. And there is no ambiguity.
I'm just not sure that this regulation is something that we want to drop that into and create some type of matrix of punishment of, 3 of this equals 2 of that versus 1 of this significant one. That's a significant escalation matrix and consequence matrix that we don't actually have across most of the rest of our policies in the state. So I'm not, or in the city. So I'm not sure that's something we would want to add here. But I guess.
I think we're done talking about STRs, Chair Woodson. So I think that's so.
Just take that as there's a disagreement on that portion of it.
Right.
And just document that it is, there are 6 with one set of clarification that they was looking for.
That's fine.
Okay.
So I want to thank the commission. That was a 3-hour discussion and I really appreciate, we got a lot of good feedback. I know I was a little pushy trying to get direction, but like I said, so the reason why I was trying to get some direction is, we have to put in a 20-day notice into the newspaper in order to bring this item back. We would normally bring this back January 22nd, but none of us are working December 29th when the legal ad would be due. So we're probably going to have to kick this to the first meeting in February. So anyway, so that's why because it's going to take a while to prepare all this stuff. And so we do appreciate the thoughtful consideration. We do have one more item to go and it's up to the commission.
We have open comment first. Is there any general open comment to the floor on any other subject matter tonight? Anybody who is still online?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 people online, Chair Woodson.
Does anybody who is online have a general comment about any other item that would be relevant to the planning commission that you would like to raise? Going once, going twice.
We have one person, Minna would like to speak.
Sure.
Minna, you can go ahead and speak now.
Hello, do you guys hear me?
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, so I want to discuss something about the 55 feet or whatever between each property or each listing. So I want to tell you something that we work really hard to get one property or like two property or whatever. We work 3 jobs. I personally work 3 jobs to be able to afford the mortgage, to get the property running, to get some money in my bucket just to survive the expensive living here in the coastal. And even the beach, like 4 minutes away from me, I never been to the beach for like maybe 8 months, but I've been so busy running this stuff. I own property. My brother owned another property across the street that you guys mentioned, and we live in a wide open street. At least like 100 parking open and available. We never heard a single complaint. If you guys heard any complaint that you can discuss, you just mention it and just tell me there's a complaint comes in for this property or whatever. So if you want to shut one property, you're affecting me. Maybe you're gonna affect my brother, and work hard for it. So I don't know which way you're gonna go for it. It will be like nonsense across the board to eliminate this because we just have like very face-to-face like housing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Minna. What I will say is that as we discussed in this, we actually did not set a 55-foot limit. The 55 limit belongs in a different city. We specifically asked the staff to go back and look at property lines and setting up a distance or non-adjoining. And that would then be presented from the staff side when they roll this up to the city council. And that would be for the city council to make that final determination. So it is not 55 feet right now. All right.
Chair Woodson, I believe that's the last person from the.
Okay, so go ahead and close public comment. We have one item on the regular agenda tonight, which is a minor update to the ADUs. Do you guys gotten so far? I don't have to look at the agenda anymore. I'm just like, no.
That's why you're the chair.
That's 4:30 was really early, and I'm really.
Yeah,
Sorry,
work at
I'm
6 a.m.
becoming
So I will make this incredibly brief because we've all been here for a while. Thank you for the commission's patience. So every year, the state adopts new ADU bills. In September or October, the governor signed 4 new ADU bills. This is a cleanup legislation. This is timely. I've been working with HCD. We could potentially be getting our pro-housing designation in the next couple months. When I met with them, they flagged our ADU ordinance as something that needed to be updated. So this is all part of this overall trying to be recognized for all the good housing that we're doing. These bills do take effect January 1st, so we're a little bit ahead of the power curve. And there are 4 bills, all of the stuff's in your staff report. The first one, ADUs, you can get up to 8 detached ADUs on a lot or the number of units on the property that are already existing. There's further restrictions for parking if you're in an architectural or historic zone, or when the garage, carport, or uncovered parking space is demolished in conjunction with an ADU, we can no longer require parking, on-site parking. There was a new bill that if a nonprofit housing organization builds an ADU, it can be sold separately from the main house. Very timely what we were talking about. No short-term rentals. It was already generally understood, but they made it abundantly clear that through AB 1154 that JADUs cannot be rented for short-term rentals. Fees, the fees that we charge, it was always for the main ADU, but they made it clear for the JADUs, and the JADUs for the commission, so they're generally the ones in the garage. We need to make sure that the fees we're charging are proportional to the impact from the house. Number 6, that was added because of the fires down in LA, but it's now statewide. If you, let's say the governor declares a state of emergency and there's earthquake or fire or flood, a lot of people will try to build an ADU first and then they'll build the house after that. So now that's allowed by law. Fire sprinklers, this has been the law of the land for the last 5 years. Now it applies to JADUs. You can't make a customer put in fire sprinkler for the JADU if it's not required for the main house. That's been in the case for ADUs for several years. There were some technical edits to the JADU law in terms of what is a kitchen and the entryways. There was some clarifications about the unit size, and it just made it abundantly clear about the different permutations of how ADUs can be built on the property. So this is a lot of this is super technical and minor, but for the commission, I would say, or the bigger ticket ones, which was kind of interesting to Commissioner Jacobs' point earlier in the year, or earlier in the evening. If you're a nonprofit housing organization, you could build that ADU and literally sell it separately from the main house. So that's kind of a new way to actually get more housing that's actually reasonably affordable for folks. And you would have to parcel off that from the rest of the property. So that really concludes my very, very brief presentation. And I'm here to answer any questions.
The only one I had, and just going back to it, and maybe it's just irrelevant, and I can't remember where, in one of the myriad of things that we've updated in the last 2 years, I thought it was last year, was the splitting of multifamily into, I can't remember what it was. You could split a multifamily dwelling twice, and then you could build an ADU to support each of that split.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that law, so.
I'll have to find it with you separately. Okay. I don't have anything specific on. I read through them. They're relatively straightforward. I mean, the only thing I was really concerned about was initially the dimensional issues, but they didn't go against anything we already put in place for ADUs. So we didn't have to I was looking at it and I didn't see that we would have to make any adjustments to our current regulations on height and setback. Anybody else? That other discussion just wore them out. You should do study sessions more often at the beginning of meetings. All right.
Our opinion doesn't matter.
We can always try. Our opinion doesn't matter. It does matter. This is why we're here. It matters. They care. All right.
The perspective of that person. To the mayor. He said, not he. It's on camera.
All right. Would somebody like to make the motion that is in front of us on the screen to the new formatting? Who changed the formatting?
Sorry, did you open public comment already, Chair?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, thank you. Is there public comment? Open up. Thank you very much, Seth. Is there any public comment on the changes in the regulations?
No one on the Zoom has raised their hand, Chair Woodson.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Seth, for reminding me. I still want to know who made the change to the formatting of the slide deck.
This is an old slide deck, Chair Woodson.
I like the format.
Okay.
It's clean. It's bright. And who's making the motion? Rana.
I move to adopt PC Resolution 2025, recommending that the City Council adopt the proposed amendment to Section 17.42.040 accessory dwelling units of the Marina Municipal Code. This action is exempt from CEQA for Section 15303 alpha of the CEQA guidelines and Section 21080.17 of the Public Resources Code.
Is there a second? Commissioner Chang seconds. We go through a vote.
Commissioner Barron, Commissioner Rana,
Yes.
Commissioner Walton,
Yes.
Chair Woodson.
Yes.
Commissioner St. John,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Any special announcements or other announcements or briefings, whatever? The minutes from the last meeting on November 18th. So can we go? That's fine. We do it out of order. Because it's all started with the meeting open period, at the very beginning being off. So I'm just going to track it back to that. Okay, the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes, look over them? Does anybody have any changes that they would like to recommend to the minutes from last month?
Oh.
I will get to the announcements. I haven't gotten to that yet. You are trying to mess me up at this point. So nobody has, no comments, so take a vote on the minutes.
Sure. Commissioner Barron,
Yes.
Commissioner Rana, Commissioner Walton,
Yes.
Chair Woodson,
Yes.
Commissioner St. John,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, so we've done like special things, so now we have announcements. And we do have announcements. He's been waiting for 3 hours to do this. Like I could have gone home a while ago.
Good evening. So I just want to announce that we are open for applications for the planning commissioner appointment. So any renewals, anyone interested to apply to any of our commissions, including the planning commission, we are accepting applications right now. You could go to cityofmarina.org and download the application, submit it to the city clerk. And if you have any questions, you could always contact the CDD office. Thank you.
Which ones of us are due to do that?
So the commissioners on the dais that are due are Commissioner Chang, St. John, Walton, and Barron. And we've already touched base. Thank you.
Surprisingly enough, you are still going to get another year.
It's kind of scary, isn't it?
Well, after everything we got you back, so like, might as well just keep you. And that reel on the hook. All right, we've got that. No other correspondence, Guido?
No.
All right, that would be it. Thank you, everyone. Have a great holiday and thanks for a good year.
Thank you, Commissioner.